It's a busy midweek in the Premier League. This evening, the first 2 of 9 Premier League matches over tonight, tomorrow and Thursday. You can listen to them all across BBC Radio. Right now, still 0-0 between Brighton and Nottingham Forest. That is live over on our sister station, BBC Radio 5 Live. And here on Sports Extra, under the lights at Selhurst Park, we are ready for Crystal Palace against Wolves. Palace, who, on paper, had the hardest start of any Premier League team for their first 7 fixtures. 6 of those 7 sides currently in the top half of the table. But Palace have had some tough opponents out of the way already now. They've already played Liverpool, they've played Manchester City, they've played Chelsea. Patrick Vieira's side looking to make up ground now against some of the other teams around them. And between now and the World Cup, Crystal Palace have got 5 games starting tonight, all of them against teams in the bottom half of the table. Tonight's visitors are Wolves, are one of those. They have been the lowest goal scorers, not just in the Premier League this season, but in England's top 4 divisions. And whoever comes in to be the new permanent Wolverhampton Wanderers manager, top of their to-do list is going to be working on how they can score more goals. The teams emerge from the tunnel amid a cacophony of noise. Always a brilliant atmosphere at Selhurst Park, particularly for a nighttime kickoff. This one a bit later than usual. It's coming up to 8:15, and we are looking forward to this game. I'm alongside James Collins, former Crystal Palace player. James, you're telling me it's the first time you've come back here since you were playing?
Yeah, it is. Fond memories coming down to Palace, you know. Always a great atmosphere, and as you touched on, Connor, the evening games here always have a certain edge to them. You know, the fans are always tremendous, in good voice, and as the teams walk out, you know, you can tell already, you know, it's going to be a raucous atmosphere this evening.
Wolves moved out of the relegation zone on Saturday. They are 1 point clear of Southampton at 18th. Southampton, who play at Bournemouth tomorrow. It's been a tough start to the campaign. They decided enough was enough with Bruno Lage. Steve Davis, a boyhood Wolves fan, along with James Collins, remain for now in caretaker charge, and they were given a boost with that 1-0 win on Saturday at Molineux. First win under the caretakers. 4 changes in the team tonight, though. Nathan Collins returns from suspension, goes straight back in at centre half. Tonight Wolves change 3 of the back 4. Ait Nouri is ill. Hugo Bueno makes his full debut. He came on for his first Premier League appearance on Saturday, the closing stages of the win over Nottingham Forest. Tonight he's in from the start. Maximilian Kilman remains alongside Collins in the centre, and there's a return to the team for Nelson Semedo at right back. In midfield, a first Premier League start for Boubacar Traoré. He's alongside Ruben Neves, who got the winner against Forest from the penalty spot. Then a line of 3, Adama Traoré, Mateus Nunes, Daniel Podence, and Diego Costa leads the line up front. He scored in both of his Premier League appearances for Chelsea when he came here to Selhurst Park in the past. The Crystal Palace team, well, that shows just 1 change this evening from their last game. I was at the King Power on Saturday, that 2-2 draw against Leicester. The change tonight sees Olise come back in place of Ayew. So it's Vicente Guaita in goal. Back 4 of Joel Ward, Joachim Anderson, Mark Gahey and Tyreek Mitchell. In the middle of the midfield, Cheikh Doucouré and Jeffrey Schlupp. Then Michael Olise on the right, Wilfried Zaha on the left. Eberechi Eze plays in the number 10, and he will be behind the striker Odsonne Edouard, who didn't score against Leicester at the weekend, but he has got 2 goals in his last 3 games regardless. James, what tactically is standing out for you this evening? What are you looking out for?
Well, obviously Steve Davis has thought, you know, Wolves needed a change at the back. Like you say, they've been conceding a lot all season, you know, 12 goals in conceded in the Premier League, and you know, as well as that, not scoring goals. So it's going to be a tough night for Wolves. I feel Palace, you know, I know the game against Leicester on the weekend wasn't a Premier League classic, but they showed glimpses, you know. Apart from putting the ball in the back of the net, they did pretty well. So I'm expecting Palace to come out on the front foot. You know, you can probably hear the crowd here. Like I said, it's going to be bouncing. If they get off to a good start, you know, it could be a tough evening for Wolves.
As things stand in the Premier League table, Crystal Palace in 13th place. They could be moving up level with Bournemouth, who are in 10th tonight. If they get the win, they'd go ahead of West Ham and Fulham. We'll keep you up to date with events elsewhere throughout the evening. Still 0-0 between Brighton and Nottingham Forest. There's a whole host of games in the Championship with Rotherham 1-0 in front against Stoke. All the rest are 0-0. And in Scotland, Kilmarnock won, Dundee United won in the early stages of the Scottish League Cup. But we are underway here. Crystal Palace in their traditional blue and red stripes, the blue shorts, the blue socks. They'll play from right to left as we look down. Wolves in their change kit, which is a silver grey, as Eze rolls the ball back to Mark Gahey, who will turn and give it to Vicente Guaita away to our right hand side. He's kept clean sheets in each of his last 3 Premier League appearances against Wolves, Vicente Guaita. Eze has possession near the halfway line and rolls it back to Gahey once again. Mark Gahey, the only Crystal Palace player to play in every minute of every game so far this season. He's got a bandage on his left hand as he launches a long crossfield ball. He's looking for Elise, and young Hugo Bueno comes across and makes the interception, but can only head the ball down and give it away in the midfield to it was Decore there who had gone forward. Long ball cleared away by Wolves, controlled on the chest by Anderson. Big night for Bueno this evening, who's obviously inexperienced, and in Michael Elise he's got a tricky, pacey customer up against him tonight. Yeah,
yes, for sure. And you can see from the start, Palace have really made a positive start, keeping the ball. Credit to Wolves though, in these early stages, they're trying to press and make Palace make mistakes. But like I say, a big night for both teams, Connor. They've been struggling a little bit. Palace, obviously, like I said, I've mentioned it a couple of times, that Dower game on the weekend. Wolves got a good result in the win against Forest, so they'll be full of confidence. So it's early stages, but it seems like it's going to be a good game.
Adama Traore gives it back to Nelson Semedo, 2 players who've worn Barcelona colours in the recent past. Ball goes out of play right in front of Patrick Vieira, who has seen his Crystal Palace team beaten 3 times in the Premier League this season. But you look at the opponents who've beaten them: Arsenal, Manchester City, Chelsea. And I think it does put just a little bit of a different slant on things. You look at the table as well, in terms of some teams having played a few games more than others, and Crystal Palace have played a game less than most of the other teams in the bottom half of the table, so there's that to factor in as well. As Bueno has possession on the left hand side, rolls it back to Kilman, who's played every minute in the Premier League for Wolves this season. Nathan Collins tonight back in the team after suspension. He was sent off against Manchester City last month. You might remember that dangerous challenge from Jack Grealish. The ball back to Jose Sa, who'll clear it away. He's wearing a sort of salmon pink tonight, and he launches it long into the Crystal Palace half. Jose Sa must be a little bit concerned as Kilman sweeps across and gets there ahead of Elise on the left hand side. It's been a tricky start to the season. Wolves have had to sack their manager, but you look at clean sheets, only Ederson has kept more Premier League clean sheets this season than Jose Sa. He'll feel, but there's not much more he can do.
Yeah, he's done particularly well in a team that has conceded goals.
Here is Joel Ward down the right hand side for Palace, tries to cross it in. Bueno makes the interception, takes the sting out of it, and Ruben Neves is able to clear away up towards the halfway line. Diego Costa, who's never shy to push his weight around, backs into Joachim Andersen, and using his experience well, Diego Costa wins a free kick to Wolves.
I mentioned it before the game, if you can get half of what I used to play against Diego Costa, he showed his physical ability there. He can be a real tough customer, with his aggression and the way he runs around and push you under pressure when you're on the ball.
Neves rolls it back to Jose Sa, right-footed clearance over to the left-hand side is controlled by Hugo Bueno, gives it back to Kilman, who's wearing the white boots as he usually tends to do. Back again to the goalkeeper, Sa, whose right-footed clearance is up towards the halfway line, but won back for Palace by Decore. His accurate header picks out Wilfried Zaha. Eze's touch back to Decore again, midway inside the Wolves half, shoots from distance, comes back off the post. What a goal that could have been! Jake Decore looking for his first ever goal for Crystal Palace, and boy did he put the laces through that. He was a long way out, James, but the goalkeeper was beaten hands down.
He did brilliantly originally. He's anticipated the ball. I think Wolves have played a short ball into midfield, he's read it, nicked the ball, and it's a wonderful strike. Unfortunately hits the upright.
That is some strike from Jake Decore. Got 1 goal for Lens in France last season. It came against Nice in April. That was within. a few inches of being his very first Premier League goal, and it would have been a stunner. He absolutely drilled it down the other end. Diego Costa's in, takes a touch, goes around it. It's saved by Guaita. He took a little bit too long, Diego Costa. He really tried to steady himself, and then he attempted the toe poke, and Guaita was able to deflect it from close range out for a corner. Chances at both ends in a game that has gone off to a flyer here. Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 0.
Yeah, you should do better. You know, a play of Diego Costa's experience he's in. I think he should probably hit it first time. So you've got to give credit to Joel Ward. He's got back and made it difficult. But like you say, great start and two good chances each end.
Yes, both teams will feel hard done by not to have scored there. Diego Costa looking for his first goal back in the Premier League after over 5 years. Here comes the corner, in swinging, headed away by Hudson Edouard, who's back helping out the Crystal Palace defence. Zaha goes down on the edge of the D, wants a free kick, referee says no. Neves tries to cross it right-footed, but it's blocked, and then Tyreek Mitchell will put the ball out for a throw into Wolves, who'll remain on the attack down the right-hand side. I like the look of this game so far, James. It started very well.
I was just going to say, Conor, real lively start from both teams, you know. Let's say Wolves, you know, showing confidence from their win the weekend, and let's say it's always a good game here at Sellers Park under the lights, especially when, you know, the game gets off to a good start and the crowd really get involved. And like I say, we could be in for a real cracker tonight.
If you're just tuning our way, Jake Doucouré drilled low, firm shot that smacked full off the post down one end, and then within seconds, Diego Costa, the former Chelsea striker, tried to turn the defender, hesitated just a little bit to steady himself, and then by the time he toe poked it, Guaita was out to narrow the angle. 0-0 it remains. Jeffrey Schlupp goes down inside the centre circle. Play on, says the referee David Coote. Nunes into the penalty area, and then the shot from Diego Costa is away off target. The flag is raised. It wouldn't have counted anyway, but Diego Costa looks up for this game tonight.
Yeah, he's furious there. I think he's right. You know, the ball was won. It's been great from Wolves. They've really been, you know, hurrying Palace in midfield and winning possession. And I think Diego Costa, and he probably should, if he has the ball a bit earlier, you know, he's made the run, he's getting on, he's probably lacking a bit of pace and less pace than he used to, so he's made the early run and the ball's just been delayed and he's been caught offside. Yeah, a great start.
He wanted that pass played first time, and then he might have been on. Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 0. BBC Radio 5 Sports Extra on today, which is the 100th birthday of the BBC, and I certainly know as a kid I used to love listening to games of football, and as a kid, when, you know, you'd let on, you're doing your homework and you'd have the headphones in, or even as a younger kid when you're supposed to be asleep, you might be under the duvet. And I really do hope some listeners are tuned our way in that sort of shape today on this 100th anniversary of the BBC. There's a lot of other ways to follow the game, television and the internet and whatnot, but you can't beat live football on the radio. Here is Ruben Neves on the halfway line, attempts a crossfield ball, trying to get in around the back of Tyreek Mitchell, but Adama Traore was unable to get there, and Mitchell heads it out, and it eventually goes for a throw-in to Palace. Last touch off Matheus Nunes, and that will be a throw-in for Tyreek Mitchell, whose tackling stats have been right up there since becoming a regular in the team for Crystal Palace. A player who was voted the Palace Young Player of the Year last season. Takes his time over this throw-in directly down below us. Left full-back position for Crystal Palace. And Matheus tries to control near the halfway line, and he does well against Jeffrey Schlupp to hold on to the ball for Wolves, who have it back with Kilman, heart of the defence. Wolves playing from left to right as we look down. Kilman turns and rolls it back to the goalkeeper, Jose Sa. We mentioned how Wolves have really struggled for goals. Only once in their last 17 league games have Wolves managed to score more than one goal in the game. In so many of those games they haven't scored at all.
Yeah, it's been a real problem for Conor, isn't it? You know, we spoke about before the game the lack of goals scored, but you've got to say the start to this game, they look like they don't look like they're lacking in confidence. Like you say, Diego Costa's already a real good chance, but probably should do better. But certainly the way they've started, they're really up for this game and looking to put on a good performance.
Palace 0, Wolves 0. Wolves who've got a lengthy injury list, and virtually every attacking player at the club has been out injured at some stage this season. Here's little Daniel Podence, who started in off the left tonight, just operating in a more central location now. He gives it short to Matheus Nunes, who with the head up looking for a pass and took his eye off the ball, and Palace were able to win it back. But good work in the midfield from Boubacar Traore on what is his first Premier League start to win it back for Wolves. Tries to nudge it up to Diego Costa. He gets there first, and Crystal Palace regained possession, and Costa caught Gehi late there. Referee was just going to wait to see if there was any advantage. There wasn't. It's come back for the Crystal Palace free kick.
Yeah, that's exactly what he does, Diego Costa. Fond memories of that sort of tackle. You know, he probably knows he's not going to get near the ball. No malice in it, but you know, he's just left a little bit on the centre defender just to let him know he's in for a game this evening.
Yes, he has had 11 red cards in his club career, Diego Costa, but he'll point out he's had more trophies than red cards over the years. And that
more
justifies.
than I can say about my career.
Kilman sliding in makes a very important interception, because otherwise the ball would have ran through to Schlupp on the edge of the Wolves penalty area. Kilman gets it back again, standing at the moment in the left full-back position. And Wolves finding themselves penned in. They trust their abilities to work their way out, though. Ruben Neves passes it back to the goalkeeper Jose Sa, now into the midfield to Boubacar Traoré. And then Nelson Semedo tries to come over the halfway line, but Wilfried Zaha tugging out of him prevents him from doing so, and that's very rough from Zaha. I thought he committed a foul initially anyway. David Coud allowed play to continue, and then Zaha definitely fouled Nelson Semedo the second time, and the referee comes over and has a word. Free kick to Wolves, 0-0.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that if I was Patrick Vieira, seeing Wilfried Zaha. You know, he's known for scoring his goals and his creative play, but he's showing real willingness, certainly in these early stages, to get back. It's a clear foul, but like you say, if I was the manager, just to see him working back and his teammates seeing Wilf work that hard, you know, it can only be good for the team.
Wilfried Zaha, who started the season very well, 4 goals in August, scored against Brentford, 2 against Villa, scored another against Liverpool. He hasn't scored since August though, but he does look fired up for it tonight in these early exchanges so far against Nelson Semedo. Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 0. Elsewhere tonight in the Premier League, it is still 0-0 between Brighton and Nottingham Forest at the Amex. You can listen to that game right now on 5 Live. Here's Adama Traoré, 5 yards from the byline, does a little dance over the ball and fools Tyreek Mitchell. Sends in a cross with the outside of his right boot, and he'll be disappointed at Adama Traoré. He couldn't get the height to beat the first defender. He did everything right until the delivery itself.
Yeah, he did really well. It was an initial really good ball from deep from the centre half. Good run from Traoré. He's cut inside and he's gone with the outside of his right foot, which is always a difficult technique, Connor. But like I say, they're showing, you know, a lot of willingness to get forward in these early stages, Wolves.
Adama Traoré, who scored against Crystal Palace the last time that Wolves beat tonight's opponent. That was in the FA Cup 2 seasons ago. Here is Ruben Neves looking for a long-range pass in around the back of the Palace defence, but through all the way to the goalkeeper Vicente Guaita. He was looking for a run of Mateus Nunes. It was an ambitious ball from Ruben Neves. He was only just outside his own penalty area, and ultimately he put too much on it as Doucouré rolls it out here to the near touchline, and Tyreek Mitchell for Crystal Palace. And it's been a lovely day in the capital, as I'm sure it has been up and down most of the land. Blue skies and sunshine. Doesn't really feel that cold. I mean, obviously there's a little bit of a nip to suggest that we are well into autumn, but it's certainly not a cold evening. As Gehi comes up to the halfway line, rolls it low to the feet of Hudson-Edouard, and they've worked it well here, Palace. Eze tries to break through. Good alert defending by Nelson Semedo, who got a head start in Eze and won the ball first along the edge of the Wolves penalty area. Gehi comes forward, awkwardly punts it up into the air. Traoré battles for it as it comes back down again with Hudson-Edouard. Here is Zaha on the near touchline. Crystal Palace's left, and the 2 caretaker coaches, Steve Davis and James Collins, right out on the edge of the technical area. They're wearing their tracksuits, silver sort of waterproof tops on tonight. Patrick Vieira in a more sort of continental, stylish looking navy suit as the ball is played down to Eze on the left wing, and he's done well here against Traoré. Then Nelson Semedo comes back, has a nibble. That's going to be a free kick. Free kick to Crystal Palace, crossing position out near the touchline, level with the edge of the penalty area left hand side.
Yeah, he did really well, ball into his feet. I thought he actually lost control of it, but he's managed to get back on his feet, and Semedo, you know, in his willingness and his honesty to try and win the ball, is probably a little bit too eager and brought him down. And this is a real dangerous position. You know, this is where Palace, you know, like I say, haven't been scoring too freely. You know, they take advantage of set plays, and first of all, you know, the delivery's got to be right, and then there's got to be the willingness to attack the ball.
Yeah, 40% of Crystal Palace's goals this season have come from set pieces. Let's see what they can do here. Wilfried Zaha has just changed his footwear. New set of studs on for him. He's now got 1 yellow boot and one silver boot, which normally you'd wonder, is this some sort of fashion statement, but I think that's actually just because he had to change the studs. So Eze's going to take the free kick. Zaha's taken a position in the near post. Some of his taller colleagues, Anderson amongst them at the back stick. Here comes the delivery in towards Hudson Edouard, and good defensive header needed to be from Nathan Collins to put it out for a corner.
I was just saying about the quality delivery, and it was a quality delivery. You know, really wrapped in towards that far stick. You know, looking for a Palace player to get on the end of it, but it's good defending from Wolves.
Our commentary position here at Selhurst Park, we sort of stare our way through the beams and the rafters of the old stadium roof here, and we can see Elise has placed the ball. This is far side of the pitch from us. The right hand side as Crystal Palace come forward. Palace 0, Wolves 0, quarter of an hour played already in a game that is flying by so far. Both teams have had big chances, but scoreless it remains. Corner swept in by Elise, headed out by Bueno. Back out to Elise, who takes a touch to steady himself, delivers a really good ball back in, and Mark Gahey got his head to it, and it flashes across the face of goal and wide. Good chance for Crystal Palace, 0-0.
Yeah, again, all about the quality of the delivery. The first corner, you know, went to the front stick, and good defending from Wolves. Balls come back out, straight back in the box, like I said, with real quality. And again, you've got to say it's Palace's chance, but you know, it would have been a tough header. He's done well to get it sort of on target, but like I say, real positive start and positive intent from Palace.
Yes, if you're a Crystal Palace fan, if your glass is half empty, you will say they've only had one win in their last 6 Premier League matches. But if your glass is full, you say they've only had one defeat in their last 5. There's been a lot of draws, could have gone either way, and that's why I think tonight's particularly important. Get the home win here, get up around thereabouts the top half of the table. I think it puts a very positive slant in the opening couple of months of the season. But if Palace lose here, then they're going to feel a bit down in the doldrums, and they'll begin to think this could be a difficult campaign. It could be a pivotal night. Collins just outside the penalty area, plays it right-footed. Diego Costa knew he was way offside, so he just stands like a statue, didn't challenge for it. Palace wrap it up, and back to the goalkeeper, Goita away to our right-hand side. He gives it short to Mark Gahey. Mitchell up to the halfway line, controlled by Zaha, who's got Nelson Semedo climbing all over him, and that's become a real tussle between those two already. Free kick to Crystal Palace. Yeah,
as Wilf Zaha's done really well again. You know, it's quite a fizz ball into his feet just on the halfway line. He's held it up well, and like I say, eagerness to win the ball back and sort of get into a fight with Wilf Zaha. But he's, you know, again, it's another foul. But you wouldn't mind that as a manager. You know, he's getting tight to Wilf. You know, obviously he's Palace's danger man. You know you've got to be uptight and close to him to stop him.
That's a very good ball. Gahey out to Joel Ward on the right hand side. He's up level with the edge of the penalty area. The Crystal Palace attack. Elise gives it into the feet of Hudson Edouard, who's turned well. Eze onto Zaha into the penalty area. Nelson Semedo with a very important block, and then it's Boubacar Traore who clears away, but a poor clearance, and Crystal Palace are going to remain on the attack. That was a slick build-up from Patrick Vieira's team there. They'll be disappointed not to get a shot on target.
Yeah, they will. Like you've got to say, Palace have started really well, as Wolves have. You know, Wolves have had chances, but Palace certainly showing the intent. Obviously, we talk about every time we watch Palace. You know, Wilf Zaha, Eze are the main men trying to get the ball into feet and the little 1-2s around the box.
That's the voice of former Welsh international James Collins watching this game with us this evening on BBC Radio 5 Sports Extra from Selhurst Park. 0-0 between Crystal Palace and Wolves, and here comes Ruben Neves through the centre, steadies himself, and he put the laces through it. No shortage of power, but it's off target, streaming away to the right hand side of Guaita's goal. Neves, though, who's a handful, and that was a good surge from midfield.
They've done it quite well, Wolves, so far. You know, they're quite happy to keep the ball, you know, along the back four and using the defensive midfielder to keep the ball, and then one good pass and they're out.
Here comes Edouard through the centre for Crystal Palace, but he's held up by Nelson Semedo, who's had a very busy start to the game. He's been covering Zaha over in his regular right-back position, but he's also been sweeping infield and helping out the central defenders too. He's been probably the defenders of the most touches of the ball in the game so far, as Joel Ward jumps and wins ahead of the halfway line. Cushion touched by Jeffrey Schlupp. Elise goes back to Joachim Andersen. Palace have it near the halfway line with Mark Gahey. Here is Tyreek Mitchell. No real high press from Wolves, a bit like the scenario with Cristiano Ronaldo at Manchester United. I don't think Diego Costa's attributes are going to be high press on opposing central defenders, not at his age, as Gahey plays a crossfield ball, very accurate, taken down on the chest, rolled it down his stomach onto the ground by Joel Ward. Elise gives it away to the groans of the Palace fans on the edge of the Wolves penalty area, but then he immediately wins it back again. Here is Wilfried Zaha, good early ball into the penalty area. Eberechi Eze turns. He's got the attentions of Traore breathing down his neck, but he's made a lovely 1-2 here with Tyreek Mitchell, and Eze into the penalty area, and Adama Traore slides back to put it out for a corner. That's very good from Crystal Palace.
Very good from Palace, not so good from Adama Traore. Initially, he switched off. Eze's got in behind. Traore's switched off and let him run, and he's used his pace and his strength to to get himself out of trouble, because he did switch off and put it behind for Palace corner.
They're approaching half-time at the Amex, still 0-0 tonight between Brighton and Nottingham Forest. And there are goals to tell you about in the Championship, which we will do after this corner kick, which is going to be taken by Elise from the left-hand side, played towards the back post. So that was Eze actually who played it in, apologies, and it's headed out of the penalty area. Podence tries to launch a counter-attack, but he's well challenged by Chik Doucouré, and Crystal Palace hold on to the ball once again. Wolves beginning to find themselves a little bit penned in. Here is Olise, right-hand side, encourages Anderson forward, steadies himself, right-footed cross is poor, straight at Nathan Collins, who clears it away. But Wolves' attempts to clear their lines at the moment, it's just like kicking the ball off a wall. It comes straight back every time. This is Anderson, low ball into the midfield to Doucouré, back now to Gehi inside the centre circle. Patrick Vieira's team building up some momentum with the 20 minutes now played at Selhurst Park, as Zaha takes on Nelson Semedo. Great speed and strength from the Portuguese defender to win the ball off Zaha and to clear it away for Wolves.
You got to say, Semedo started really well. He would have been looking at Will Zaha, thinking he's in for a tough night, and he's really been on his game so far. Let's hopefully, for the Wolves' point of view, he can stay focused for the 90 minutes.
Very good from Zaha there to regain possession, and then a pass from Ward towards Elise has been cut out by young Hugo Bueno, the Spanish defender, only turned 20 last month, and he clears it away for Wolves up over the halfway line. There's no one up there, and Anderson literally at a walking pace brings it back towards the halfway line. Now he launches one forward, out comes Sa, way out of his penalty area to head it away. Podence touches it down for Bueno, rolls it back along the deck, and the instinct almost for these Wolves players, they get the ball, they turn, they retreat. There's been very few forward passes up into the midfielder or up into the attack.
You can see Diego Costa there just telling the Wolves defenders and certainly goalkeeper just to relax a little bit. I know they've been under pressure for the last 5 minutes, but early on in the game they did well, playing it around, getting it out from the back, and then they've sort of been rushed a little bit in the last 5 minutes in their clearances, and then they're just giving the ball back to Palace, and they're straight back under pressure again.
Confidence understandably low for Wolves on their travels. They haven't won away in the Premier League since March when they won at Everton. Here is Olise into the penalty area, trying to get it on that left foot of his, but he just delayed a little bit, and it was whipped off his toe by Podence, and Collins tried to clear, but it's come straight back again. And this is Zaha into the penalty area, step over, and Nelson Semedo who anticipated it well, and that's brilliant defending, because Nelson Semedo played the ball off Zaha, and it goes out not for a corner but a goal kick. Still Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 0.
Great defending again from Semedo. You got to say he started really well, the lad. Like I said, playing up against Wilfred Zaha, you're going to be in for a long evening, but you got to say it's been a great start. I say both teams have been struggling a little bit. Obviously Wolves got their win the weekend against Forest and sort of come here with a bit of confidence. Last 5 minutes they've been struggling a bit, but you got to say it's been a great lively start to this game.
They're still playing at Brighton in the first half. They've reached 50 minutes, so there's obviously been some stoppages there, as it remains 0-0 here at Selhurst Park between Crystal Palace and Wolves. Mark Gehi comes with possession up to the halfway line, rolls it to the feet of Wilfred Zaha. Nelson Semedo, his shadow as always. Zaha tries to skip away, and he's taken down by Kilman. Free kick to Palace, might just be within shooting range. It's around the periphery of distance. This is a full 10 yards outside the penalty area, but it might be tempting, and Wilfred Zaha's twinkle toes causing problems for the Wolves defenders again.
Yeah, brilliant again from Wilfred Zaha. He's actually rolled inside. He hasn't had a bit too much luck against Semedo out on this left hand side early on, but he's rolled inside lovely. 2 or 3 Wolves players trying to nibble at his toes, to take the ball off him, and like you say, Connor, he's danced around him with those twinkle toes and got a free kick in a dangerous position.
Well, they've got a few contenders to hit this to Crystal Palace, and plenty dead ball experts. Eze's having a look at it.
If you can see round that pole, Connor, and tell me who's going to take it.
It's like you see people at Wimbledon turning their head side to side. I sort of lean one side to see where the ball is, I lean the other side to see where the target is. But that's the charm here of Selhurst Park in our view, as Eze goes for a shot that he curled around the wall, that he got the tip on, but he just couldn't bend it back in on target, and it goes comfortably wide in the end of Jose Sa's goal. But he did go for it.
Yeah, it's great shooting up, opportunity. Like you say, he's done it all right. He's got the ball up and down over the wall. Just hasn't got the whip on it to bring it the right side of the post. But again, a good effort from Eze.
So elsewhere this evening tonight, plenty of games in the Championship up and down the country. 0-0 between Huddersfield and Preston, half times most of these now. 0-0 between Norwich and Luton. It is Swansea 1, Reading 2. And then later kick-offs at Ewood Park, where Blackburn Rovers lead Sunderland by 1-0. It is Stoke 0, Rotherham 1. That was also an 8 o'clock start. And West Brom trail at the Hawthorns. West Brom 0, Bristol City 1. Still 1-1 between Kilmarnock and Dundee United in the Scottish League Cup. That game has reached half-time. Nelson Semedo gets the better of Wilfred Zaha again. Wolves clear it away into the Crystal Palace half, where Gehi picks it up very comfortably. Tyreek Mitchell will roll it back to the goalkeeper, Guaita, wearing all green. Away to our right hand side, his clearance up towards Eze, who controls well despite the attentions of Boubacar Traore bundling into the back of him. Hudson Edouard cushions a header down for Wilfred Zaha, and Palace are going to break into the Wolves half now. Schlupp over into space for Elise on the right hand side. He's got 4 teammates in field of him. Elise swerves one way then the other, then he tries to shoot, and that was ambitious from the edge of the penalty area. He is going to get a corner. It took a deflection the way through. That would have needed to be a stunning strike to score from there. Corner to Crystal Palace on the left hand side, 0-0.
Yeah, he showed the intent, O'Connor. Like you say, it was lovely play from Palace. They had the ball in their own half, at the goalkeeper's feet, rather than just shelling it up the pitch. They played it out nicely and found themselves attacking at the Wolves goal. Like you say, it would have been an absolute world-class goal from there, but they've got the corner in another dangerous position. Michael Elise probably due a goal, looking for his first in 21 games. Here comes the latest corner delivery, and it's headed away back out to Eze, who had taken it on the left-hand side. His latest effort towards the back stick. Anderson is up. His header lands on the roof of the net. So Crystal Palace, the team on top here, the team creating the chances at the moment, but with 26 minutes, almost 27 minutes played at Selhurst Park, it remains Crystal Palace 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. Palace, who were held 0-0 on Saturday at Leicester. Second time this season they've been involved in a scoreless Premier League game. It was also 0-0 when they played away at Newcastle last month. When these two meet, generally they are goals. None of the last 29 meetings in all competitions between Palace and Wolves have ended goalless. You've got to go back to 1999 at Molineux, the old Division 1, when both these clubs were at that level. And for the last time they played out a 0-0. Free kick to Palace. Eze fouled by Boubacar Traore. He's putting himself about a lot in the midfield, and this is first Premier League start. He's had substitute appearances in each of I think it's quite each of the last 3 games, 3 of the last 4, something like that, but in for his first start tonight. Anderson has possession, bang on the halfway line, over to the far side. Joel Ward short to Elise, and creeping in to close him down was Hugo Bueno. Yeah, they're turning the screw a little bit here, I feel, Connor. Certainly the last 5-10 minutes Palace have really upped their game, at the pace of the game, getting the ball into Wilfred Zaha, into Eze, and trying to make things happen. You got to say what Wolves what they've had to do. They've defended pretty well and been comfortable in possession when they get the ball back. But say I feel the fans here certainly feel like something could happen if Palace could get a goal before half time. I think it'd be deserved. Yeah, in many respects this opening half hour has been very much in the same vein as the season so far for Wolves, because they don't concede that many, really. We mentioned now only Edison has got more clean sheets in the Premier League this season than Jose Sa, but they don't offer very much in attack, and you just wonder how much they can absorb the pressure that Crystal Palace have been throwing at them so far. Palace 0, Wolves 0. Ball goes out of play. That'll be a throw-in to Palace, right full-back position for Joel Ward. Ward has been the captain of the team so far this season. Young Mark Gehi wore the armband for much of the second half of last campaign, but Ward, a much more experienced player. Here is Gehi, certainly Crystal Palace's future. Ball to the feet of Eze, who's fouled by Boubacar Traore. Wolves aren't happy with that. They felt that Eze went out too easily, but it is the latest in a long number
of fouls now from Boubacar Traoré, and that's the point that referee David Coote is making. He's not reaching for the card, but I think the message is quite clear here, James. Do another one of those and it will be yellow for Traoré.
Yeah, he's given 3 or 4 away. It's good play from Palace. Again, the ball's rolled in the midfield, and again, he's showing his desire to get in there, Traoré, to win the ball, but he's just getting a little bit clumsy and making too many fouls, and I'm sure the next one we see will be a yellow card.
Boubacar Traoré, who's young, he's only 21. He's joined on loan for the season from Metz. He's in there along with Ruben Neves in the engine room of the Wolves midfield, which is finding it tough going against Doucouré and Schlupp so far, and those very pacey attacking midfielders that Crystal Palace have, Eze, Zaha, Olise. Here is Boubacar Traoré, good ball up to Podence, who flicks it off to Ruben Neves. This is much better from Wolves. Spins it out to the left hand side where Hugo Bueno sprinting forward. Now here comes the cross. There's the header from Adama Traoré, and Wolverhampton Wanderers take the lead at Selhurst Park. Hugo Bueno with the assist on his full debut in the Premier League, and the teammates all run to congratulate with the Spanish youngster who did brilliantly to set that up. It's a super headed finish from Adama Traoré too, and from nothing, Wolves, who've been rope-a-dope, absorbing the punches, come out with an absolute swinging punch of their own, and they lead 1-0.
You've got to say, Con, it's a great goal. Like you say, they've been under pressure, Wolves, soaking up what Palace have had to throw to them, and it's their first, real chance in the last 5 minutes. The ball's been played out, lovely intricate play, ball's been played out wide, and it's a great ball in. Con over everyone's head, you think it's going out of play, and Traoré turns up with a back stick with a great header into the floor. And like you say, it's come from nowhere really, because Palace have been on top. We mentioned it in commentary, but fair play to Wolves. That is a wonderful goal.
That is the first league goal that Adama Traoré has scored since January, and that includes his time at Barcelona in La Liga last season. He's a player who's got all the raw attributes. He's got everything, the kind of unpolished diamond that he is, the potential, just looking for those finishing touches, the being able to complete the cross, the being able to find the back of the net. But he did really well there. The headed goal, his first in the Premier League this season. He did score in the League Cup against Preston back in August. But this will absolutely thrill Steve Davis and James Collins. They've absorbed the pressure. Palace have had their purple patch, but it's Wolves who lead the game.
You've got to give a special mention to Bueno there at left back. Like you mentioned him, he was in for a tough night up against Eze and Zaha and the lads up front for Palace. And he didn't really see it coming, like you say, they were absorbing the...
Diego Costa, what a chance, it wouldn't have counted though. He shoots wide, the flag was raised, Diego Costa was offside.
Like you say, Palace were having the ball and they did really well to absorb the pressure, and I think they were under pressure again, and really intricate play to get out. They haven't just shelled at the pitch, played it out, and like you say, Buena's found himself in acres of space down the left hand side, and you've got to say to the lad, it's a wonderful ball in, and fair play to Traoré for following up and getting in the back stick with a good header.
Yeah, the Wolves management team will be so pleased when they review the video of that goal. I mean, everything about it, the flick from Podence, the ball into space from Ruben Neves, the cantering run by Hugo Bueno, and then that's really the first time he's got into a crossing position in his Premier League career. I was thinking, I hope this is a good cross. I hope he, for the young man's confidence, you don't want to mess it up. He couldn't have played that cross better. It was perfect.
Like you say, you see so many players of more games, more sort of not ability, but more games and more
stature.
Stature. Play a bad ball there, play it into the front stick or into a bad area. But you've got to say he's composed himself and put it into a wonderful area, and Wolves are 1-0 up.
Crystal Palace looking around and wondering how that is the score, because they have dominated the game to this point. Olise is down. The noise you're hearing in the background is disgruntled Crystal Palace supporters who feel there's been too many of that sort of challenge now. We haven't had a yellow card in the game, but there's been a huge number of free kicks for Crystal Palace, huge number of fouls by Wolves.
There has, and like I say, it's credit to Wolves. They're showing that real hunger, desire to make the tackles. Like I say, there has been too many fouls, and I'm sure there is a yellow card coming, but that's what they're doing, Wolves. Palace are playing the ball into the final third, around the box, and they're making the fouls. Maybe it's to slow the play down and get themselves back into position, but certainly I think the next one, we said that the last time, but I think the next one will be a yellow.
Still 0-0 between Brighton and Nottingham Forest. Here comes Olise's latest free kick. Jose Sa came bravely punching it away. He's collided with his own teammate there, Mateus Nunes, who stays down. He's going to need some medical attention. The teammates are waving for the physios to come on for the Portuguese international. It was, I mean, he had to do it. He had to clean him out. Jose Sa, brave goalkeeping to come out, but the recipient of that bravery was Mateus Nunes, who wouldn't have seen the goalkeeper coming. His eye was on the ball. He actually won the header. Kilman won the header in front of him, and then Mateus Nunes, who was looking at the ball, got the thud of his goalkeeper absolutely barreling into him from behind, and he is still down receiving treatment.
I've had a few of them in me in my time, Connor. You're not too sure if the goalkeeper's shouted to come and claim it, so he's done the right thing. He's got his body in between and made the header and took a whack for his troubles.
Jose Sa, who saved a penalty against Nottingham Forest on Saturday, second penalty that he'd saved this season. This is going well so far for Steve Davis and James Collins, who've worked together at Crewe in the past. They've been involved with the underage teams at Molineux in recent seasons. This has been very much a surprise step up that they wouldn't have been anticipating, but they do appear to be steadying the ship and having got the first win since Bruno Lage's departure at the weekend against Nottingham Forest. Wolverhampton Wanderers are now leading 1-0 here away at Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. And confidence, which is such an important attribute in football, they're beginning to grow a bit of that now, these Wolverhampton Wanderers players. Very well worked goal for Adama Traore. We're not missing any of the action because Mateus Nunes is still getting treatment, still lying on the ground away to our left hand side.
Just watching the Wolves goal again there, Connor, it's a wonderful goal. Started from the goalkeeper, not a long pass from the goalkeeper into the halfway line, nice little layoff, and they've worked it well. And like you say, Bueno's found himself in acres of space on the left hand side, and for a lad so young in such a big game, the position the club in, to find that quality of the cross he did is credit to him. And like you say, Traore turning up with a back stick with a good header. They can easily, when you've got that much time, you can easily lose concentration or take your eye off the ball, but he's finished it well.
Just seen another angle of replay of where Mateus Nunes has picked up the knock here. He had no chance to brace himself for impact. His eye were on the ball, which is coming in, and then as he jumps for it, he's actually nudged by one of the Crystal Palace players, so he's sort of losing his balance. He's slightly leaning away from the ball, and that's when from the other side the goalkeeper comes banging into him, so that will have taken him by shock. And obviously anything to do with the back, neck, head injury, they're going to give it every extra bit of attention. But he is back up at his feet, he's holding the back of his neck, but at least Mateus Nunes is back up, and he's walking over to the touchline, and the medical staff will be just assessing him now and making sure that he will in fact be okay to continue.
Yeah, I like to see it though, kind of like to say it was a dangerous ball in. Nunes, a midfielder getting back, helping his back forward, put himself in a dangerous position and took a knock. But like you say, for the Wolves fans and the manager, to see your players, putting their body on the line like that is great to see.
Right, game back underway. Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 1. Here's the goal scorer, Adama Traore in possession. Tyreek Mitchell trying to nick it off him, but unable to force it away from those muscly thighs of Adama Traore. Mateus Nunes is back onto the pitch, and Wolves are back to 11 against 11 here. Jose Sa has possession, clears it away, right footed, well up over the halfway line. Mateus Nunes jumps in the air with Decore. The ball comes down for Adama Traore. Tyreek Mitchell has a little tug at his shirt, and he tries the little round the world turn there with Adama Traore that doesn't come off. And then Boubacar Traore is given away another free kick, and this is the one he's going to get booked for. It's probably the most innocuous of the challenges he's made tonight, but it is the cumulative effect. Devikou, the referee, points to various other places on the pitch, pointing out the previous crimes committed by Boubacar Traore, and he now sees yellow. I
think he pointed to 8 separate spots there, but he was going to foul away.
So that's the first yellow card of the evening. Boubacar Traore, it's Adama Traore who has scored the goal that separates the teams, and then immediately after one yellow card is shown, we get a second one straight away, this time for Joel Ward, who's committed a foul on the far side. He was stretching for the ball against Podence, and he's adjudged to have fouled him. Podence is much smaller than Joel Ward, but it is deemed to be leading with his arm, and a little bit of sympathy there for Ward. I'm not sure how much intent, but they feel it was a bit reckless.
Listen, he's got to go and win the header. Podence has got his eyes on the ball. Joel Ward's got a clean run on it, and he's jumped and won the header. Unfortunately, Podence has been caught. Doesn't look great in the replay, but there's no malice in it. Joel Ward's clearly gone to win the ball, and unfortunately, Podence has been hurt in the aftermath.
Right, so another break in play here while Podence receives some treatment. Chance to remind you of what's coming up this very busy midweek in the Premier League. The 5 games tomorrow. We will bring you commentary of Liverpool against West Ham United from Anfield on 5 Live. Manchester United against Tottenham is the pick for BBC Radio 5 Sports Extra. The other games tonight: Bournemouth against Southampton, Brentford against Chelsea, and Newcastle play Everton as well tomorrow. There are 2 games on Thursday: Fulham against Villa and Leicester against Leeds. And just still waiting for Podence to get back to his feet. Wolves, who scored after just 6 minutes of their opening league game this season, that was against Leeds. They hadn't scored away from Molineux in the top flight since before tonight, and that's what makes that Adama Traore goal very, very special. You know, we often say in football that goal had been coming. That one hadn't been coming. That was very much against the run of play.
Not at all. It seemed like all we've been talking about, Connor, was Palace in the lead up to it, and how they were building up a head of steam, and like if anyone was going to score, it was them. But like I say, credit to Wolves. You know, there wasn't any clear-cut chances, you'd say, from Palace in that time, and they soaked up what Palace were throwing at them. And you know, I'm sure everyone will see the goal in the coming days. It really is a really well worked goal from Wolves, and like you say, they've the quality that Bueno has shown for such a young lad down the left to put that ball into an area, and the Wolves boys showing the willingness to get in the box is credit to them for it hasn't been the greatest start to the season, but they've certainly coming into this game and now are playing really well.
We're still waiting for Podence to be assessed. In the Championship, Blackburn are leading Sunderland. As things stand, they would be heading top. Norwich also playing tonight, who have played a game less than Blackburn. The scores in the Championship: Preston 1-0 up away at Huddersfield. That's in the early stages of the second half. 0-0 at Carrow Road between Norwich and Luton. Swansea 1, Reading 2. Blackburn 1, Sunderland 0. Stoke being beaten by a goal to 0 at home to Rotherham, and West Brom are now 2-0 down. West Brom 0, Bristol City 2. Williams and Wells, the 2 goal scorers for Bristol City tonight. And the Hawthorns back underway here at Selhurst Park. 1-0 to Wolves. Adama Traore's first Premier League goal of the season. He's in possession here. Tyreek Mitchell trying to get close to him, but slithering clear is Adama Traore, and he plays it into space for Hugo Bueno on the left hand side. Palace now been forced to play just a little bit deeper. They've had all the territory, all the possession so far in the game, but now Wolves look to come at them with Mateus down the right hand side. Plays it infield to Adama Traore, who's unable to play the return pass because of a very good challenge by Cheikh Doucouré, and that is brilliant dribbling skills by Wilfried Zaha. And then he tries to play the pass in front of Hudson Edouard, and it's cut out by Nathan Collins. I mean, that is world class stuff from Wilfried Zaha. The way he dragged the ball under his studs to elude 2 slight tackles around him, that is brilliant from Wilfried Zaha.
Absolutely world class. You couldn't put it any better, Connor. You know, two Wolves defenders right up behind him, putting pressure on him, showed lovely skill to come out and almost played a world class ball as well. But for Collins, sort of having a gamble and sticking his leg out, stopping the pass to go through.
Mitchell's crossfield ball too close to Bueno, but his header is down to the feet of Elise. Steps into the penalty area, gives it back out to Joel Ward, whose cross is blocked off Bueno, and it goes out on the throw inside of the corner flag. So Crystal Palace attacking down the right hand side, and a throw in for them high up the pitch as half time rapidly approaches, and we've got just over 2 minutes now of normal time to go until the break. There'll be quite a few stoppages, I imagine, because of those 2 injury delays we've had, both to Wolves players in these opening 45 minutes. Throw in taken too quickly. Frustrations for Palace as they've been told to go back and take it again. I think frustration is the word, because Crystal Palace fans will know that their team has arguably played the better stuff here. They've certainly had the better chances. They've had the possession and the territory, but as things stand, Palace are about to go in at the break behind as another Palace attack peters away to nothing, and it's a goal kick.
Showing a little bit of frustration now, the Palace players. Certainly Patrick Vieira is down on the sideline. You've got to give credit to Wolves, like you say, that Palace have had a lot of possession and been in threatening positions, but Wolves have done well. They've stood firm and defended well and sort of controlled these last 10 minutes, if you like.
Crystal Palace who've won 2 of their Premier League games so far this season. If their fans are looking for omens and being behind tonight, both those victories came after Palace had conceded the opening goal. They went behind to Aston Villa, they came back to win, And at the weekend they went behind to Leeds, but again came back to win. So that was 2 games ago, not the weekend. But whenever they have won the Premier League this season, they've had to come from behind to do so. And now Patrick Vieira's team are looking at attempting to do that for the 3rd time this season. Throw in down below us for Wolves. Nelson Semedo comes slowly forward to take it, throws to the feet of Adama Traore, wanted to nudge it infield to Boubacar Traore, but it's been cut out by Eze. Palace get it back. The captain, Joel Ward, up to the halfway line to Elise. Poor first touch, but is able to nip in, and helped out by Ruben Neves. Wolves regain possession. Wolves have certainly improved as the game has progressed. They've looked more comfortable on the ball. The confidence that being 1-0 up can bring. 4 minutes being added on for stoppages. Now we move into that at the end of the first half. Great composure under pressure from Mark Guéhi there to swerve away from Mateus Nunes, and now he's continued to run into the penalty area. Guéhi, as Elise can't deliver the cross on the right hand side, not early anyway. He's been held up by 3 defenders, and eventually he just smuggles it back to Joel Ward, back closer to the halfway line. Palace would like a strong finish to this first half. Doucouré wanted to play it out to the right hand side to Elise, but he gave it straight to Podence. Neves clears it away up towards Diego Costa, who's well marshalled by Joachim Andersen. But whereas before, when Palace would win it back, they'd hold on to it. Now they're the ones giving up possession cheaply, and Wolves have it once more at the back.
Again, you've got to give credit to Wolves. Like you say, Palace have been the better team for long periods of this first half, but like you say, the tide's turned a little bit when Palace now are trying to make those passes into the number 10, in between the lines. You know, Wolves are defending really well, getting numbers and making it difficult for Palace to keep possession.
Waiter clears away with his feet with accurate distribution to pick out Joel Ward, who comes running over the halfway line, right hand side for Crystal Palace in their red and blue stripes. Leaves it for Elise, 10 yards outside the penalty area. Low ball into Hudson Edouard, then Schlupp into the penalty area. Wilfried Zaha on his left boot, but always rising and high over the top of the side netting. Snatched at it a little bit, Wilfried Zaha. And it remains Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 1.
Yeah, dangerous area again. Wilfried Zaha, where he likes to be, you know, fronting up Semedo one-on-one. You've got to say Semedo's done well again. He's sort of ushered him down the line, closed the angle off, and Wilf Zaha can't get the shot on target.
So almost half-time at Selhurst Park. Steve Davis and James Collins, the caretaker coaches for Wolves, will be very pleased. Little glance at the watch there from Davis. He doesn't want any late drama. And in this closing minute now of stoppages, as Jose Sa clears up over the halfway line, controlled by Diego Costa on the chest. That was very good, and then it comes out off of Adama Traore for a throw into Crystal Palace down below us. No time to waste for the home team. Tyreek Mitchell onto Cheikh Doucouré. That looked like a foul by Mateus Nunes, and it is. Free kick to Crystal Palace inside their own half. This could be their last chance of this first period. Guéhi gets on with it, no time to waste. Crossfield ball to Joel Ward, helps it on towards Elise, but he's overstruck it. Kilman's able to nip in and clear away left-footed for Wolves. Come down to the halfway line. Anderson beats the much shorter Podence in the air. Doucouré's done well. He's having a good game in the middle of the park for Palace. Rolls it to the left-hand side to Mitchell, and now Zaha, 10 yards inside the penalty area. Rolls it in low to the feet of Edouard. Tried to turn, well anticipated by Kilman. Knew exactly what Hudson Edouard was going to do there. And Wolves will come on the counter-attack with the pacey Adama Traore. And look at him go, sprinting through the centre. Tackled by Doucouré, and it's going to be a free kick to Wolves. Foul just outside the D, and a yellow card for Doucouré. David Coote feeling that was a cynical professional foul, tripping up Adama Traore as he was at full steam ahead on his way charging into the penalty area.
Yeah, Adama Traore broke again. Again, Wolves defending deep, winning the ball back, being patient. 2-3 passes, they're out. They're at the Palace back four. I think Adama Traore should probably play the ball a little bit earlier. You know, they seem 3-on-2 at stages with runners either side of him, and he's delayed it. Probably should have passed if he's got the foul in a dangerous position.
I mean, it is one of the great sights in the Premier League when Adama Traore is in full flight, but there's a time and a place, and I think, as you say, James, that the pass could have been released earlier there, and Wolves had numbers, but as it is, they've got a free kick which Ruben Neves is eyeing up, and this is just about within his shooting range. It's, I would say, 8 yards thereabouts outside the penalty area, central location. A relatively short run up from Nunez with the hair tied tight in the ponytail at the back of his scalp. 4 men in the wall. Here it comes. Oh, it's come back off the post. How unlucky for Wolves. The woodwork's been struck at both ends, and even though it went out for what would have been a corner, the referee says there's no time. Wolves are disgusted with that. They want the corner. There won't be time to have it. It is going to be half-time here at Selhurst Park, but Wolves within a whisker of doubling their lead, James Collins. You cannot get any closer than that.
You can't. It's a wonderful free kick from Neves. Everything, dipped, whipped it, just hasn't whipped it just enough. It's a great effort, and like I say, Wolves really unlucky not to go in two up here.
Well, earlier on in the game, Crystal Palace hit the post in a similar fashion. You know, sometimes it just deflects or glances off the post. The 2 times the woodwork's been hit here tonight, it is full smack in the middle, and it goes bouncing right back out again. It was Decore for Palace. It was Ruben Neves with that excellent free kick right at the end. In between the goal that stood, Adama Traore with a header after a cross from Hugo Bueno on his full debut, and the Palace fans are left with a little bit of a sour taste in their mouth. They'll want much more in the second half. For the moment, though, their team trail. But what do you think, James, given what we've seen so far, do you think Palace can turn that possession, that territory, into chances and ultimately into goals and get back into this in the second half?
Yeah, they can. Like you say, they've got the players, Connor. I feel like they like I say, certainly early on in the game, they had all the possession and were getting towards the sort of 18-yard box where they're attacking, and they sort of broke down a little bit. Granted, it's down to Wolves' solid defending and keeping their concentration, but I think if the quality was slightly better in the final third, you know, with the final pass or the final cross, you know, they will get chances to score that goal. And like you say, they're going to need to, because the last 10 minutes of the first half, certainly Wolves were the better team. They controlled it, they looked comfortable defending, and they were getting chances on the break. So Patrick Vieira's got his work to do in that dressing room. Okay,
well, we've got half-time coming up here at Selhurst Park. So over the next quarter of an hour, we're going to go to the Amex. We're going to join in with the 5 Live commentary. It's the closing stages there, Brighton against Nottingham Forest. But come back to us for the second half. For now, though, it's over to Steve Sidwell and Alistair Bruce Ball.
McKenna underneath it, that will go out for a throw, and it's half-time at Selhurst Park. Sahel Sahi.
Yeah, Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 1. Wolves with their 5th Premier League goal of the season, separating the two sides, breaking out of defence down the left. Hugo Bueno on his Wolves debut with a deep cross to the far post. He picked out a stupid Adama Traore. Neves crashed a free kick against the post, Alistair, just before half-time for Wolves. Half-time here, Crystal Palace 0, Wolves 1.
German striker Dennis Undav getting ready to come on for Brighton here. Brighton bringing it forward. We are heading into the last 10 minutes of the game, and it's still Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Trossard looking for an option with the ball at his feet wide on the left. It's played back to McAllister. McAllister swings a pass out to the right. Lamptey kills it stone dead with the first touch. Tries to find Solly March. March gets it back to Lamptey. Lamptey's dangerous in this position. Cross comes in. Welbeck tries to take it on the turn. Shots it. Great save from Henderson. Pascal Gross hits the shot into the ground. Henderson throws himself to his right and saves Nottingham Forest. It goes behind for the corner to Brighton. We'll deal with this and then we'll head to Ewood Park. There's been another goal in that game. Last we heard, Blackburn were leading Sunderland by a goal to 0. Brighton getting ready to take the corner. Solly March says, wait for me. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Great save from Dean Henderson to keep this game goalless. Brighton fans, you can hear them now urging their team to find this breakthrough. Solly March, a few paces back from the ball, attacking this goal away to our right hand side. March with his left foot goes high and deep to the far post. Steve Cook flicks the header away. McAllister jumps, nods it down to Veltman. Veltman on the right hand side, followed by Brennan Johnson, plays it back to McAllister. Cross comes into the box, headed away by Scott McKenna. Lingard will jump for it, lets it run over him. Lamptey plays it to his right hand side. Here's McAllister. McAllister driving the ball to the left, looking for Solly March. And Nottingham Forest should be able to get that away and might even be able to turn it into a counter-attack here. Ryan Yates looking for the ball through. I don't think Lingard will get there. Lewis Dunk comes back to Robert Sanchez. Charlie Slater at Ewood Park.
Blackburn 2, Sunderland 0, 6 minutes gone in the second half. A free kick which was whipped devilishly into the 6-yard box, and there was Scott Wharton to flick it home into the net. As it stands, Blackburn top of the championship. They lead by 2 goals to 0.
8 minutes to go in this one. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Steve Sidwell sitting alongside me. Great save by Dean Henderson, Steve.
What a save. I mean, was that the chance of this game that was going to break the deadlock. It was a great, it was well played there from Brighton. And Lamptey on the charge here now.
Yeah, Lamptey on the right. He's got Toffolo standing in front of him. Plays it to McAllister. McAllister gives it straight back to Lamptey. Time running out for both of these two teams to try and force the winner. Lamptey looking to force a ball through it. Runs to Trossard, edge of the box. Hits the shot. Great block by Yates. Yates is down hurt, having made the block. Has to pick himself up though. Gross. Play to Webster. Back to Gross. Right in the middle of the Forest half. Webster out on the left-hand side. Brighton can't find a way through. And Dennis Undav is still waiting to come on for them. Lot of pressure from the home team here. Forest fans looking a little nervous in the away end. Caicedo chips the ball into the box, runs over. Solly March's head, can't keep his feet. He's not looking for a penalty. No. And Henderson falls gratefully on that ball.
Just on that chance there from Pascal Gross. He's certainly a player in that area where you'd put your money on certainly hitting the target, which he did do, but having that quality of getting a clean strike on it. Danny Welbeck tries to bring it down, and he just toes it away from Cook, and he sort of just scuffs it. He tries to keep, he side foots it to try and keep it on target, but just hits it into the ground.
Yeah, bounced up in the air. Dean Henderson had almost gone down beneath it and had to stick his hand up high to make the save. Tariq Lamptey speeding forward. That is a dreadful challenge from Remo Freud. It's not going to hurt Lamptey, that, but he's grabbed him by the shoulders, had no chance of getting the ball off him, and quite rightly gets a yellow card. Goal at Swansea, Laura Kenyon.
Swansea 2, Reading 2. Ollie Cooper deep in the box, clinical finish, his second goal for Swansea. Two sides in the playoff mix, just a point between them, and it's all level, 2-2.
Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. I know why players do that, Stephen, take the yellow card, because they've got to cynically stop the opposition. It's so frustrating, that, isn't it, to watch?
It is, but I've been in a position before when I've done it myself, and I've told other players to do it. It is a tactical foul that you do need to do, especially with Lamptey, someone that's come on that's fresh and lively.
Forest are battling hard here. Harry Toffolo's gone down. Dennis Undav has come on. Pascal Gross was the player to go off for Brighton. We've got just over 5 minutes to play. Second half commentary of Crystal Palace against Wolves on the way here on 5 Live, and Wolves are leading that game by 1-0 at half-time. As always, all the post-match reaction, the debates, the talking points will be in the Football Daily podcast for you, available via the BBC Sounds app. So download that BBC Sounds app, search for the Football Daily, click subscribe. It will become the World Cup Daily next month. That is hurtling towards us very fast, that World Cup.
Trio of substitutions here, Ali, from Nottingham Forest.
Commentators love this. Right, Julian Biancone, who's making sure he's getting the hair right before he comes on here, sweeping it back. Taiwo Awoniyi, who's the centre forward we were talking about at the start of the night, the Nigerian signed from Union Berlin this summer, and Joe Worrell, who joined Nottingham Forest as a 14-year-old, has been with them all the way through. So Toffolo came on in the game, but has had to come off with an injury, so he's heading straight to the changing rooms. Jesse Lingard is slowly making his way off, and Brennan Johnson is coming off too. Let's check in at Carrow Road. Norwich Luton, Aaron Paul.
Norwich 0, Luton 1. Carlton Morris's goal separates these two sides. Don't forget, he spent 16 years here, academy and through as a graduate. It was a fantastic finish, couple of step overs, cut inside, bang, placed it past the goalkeeper. Chance of Dino sorted out. Well, he's gone for a hat-trick of subs, Ali. Let's see if they can make a difference. Norwich 0, Luton 1.
Hat-trick of subs completed here, so Brighton getting ready to take a free kick. 4 minutes to play plus added time. Still Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. McAllister steadies himself, curls that ball into the Nottingham Forest penalty area, just hits Webster, didn't know where it was. Dunk gets a header on it, but it loops harmlessly into the arms of Henderson. Henderson looking to get Nottingham Forest away, slings it out, overarm, and away they go down the right-hand side. That's the substitute Biancone. It's an awful pass with his right foot. He'd made great space. He was looking for Awoniyi in the middle, and he's just knocked it straight out for a goal kick.
That's obviously not a sub that's warmed up properly.
Yeah.
Really poor pass there. I know he's running at speed, but it was an easy pass just to look in the space.
Get the ball to Lamptey, that's the key. They've done it again, Brighton. Williams couldn't handle him. Williams is now hurt. He's holding his groin. The Wales fans will be a little bit worried about that. I was talking about the World Cup. Key man for them at the World Cup next month. Hopefully that's just a knock for him. But Brighton looking to get it to Lamptey. Freuler's already had to take the booking. We're into the 88th minute of the game. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest nil. Caicedo looks for Lamptey. Williams, oh, he just got there. He read the diagonal and he went for the leap to cut it out with his head, and he got a glancing header, and now he's hurt and he wants play stop. Well, hang on, how's that a Forest throw? Did it hit Lamptey?
I didn't see it. I think that could be a mistake there from referee's assistance, but Nico Williams here, he looks like he's struggling. He's holding his left groin.
Right, throw-in taken by Williams, cleared with his right foot. Gibbs White heads it out of play. Roberto De Zerbi, the Brighton boss, rushes towards the ball. This is going to be a fourth game without a win for him. Not an easy job to do, of course. Brighton were ticking along very nicely, but he'll want that win to convince the fans that he can keep that going for them. Dunk plays it to Webster, 89th minute of the game. Back to Dunk. Dunk across to Veltman. Veltman to Lamptey. Lamptey 10 yards inside the Forest half, looks to work one down the right to Solly March. Pass takes a deflection out for a throw-in. March looking for a teammate, sees Veltman coming up behind him. Awoniyi nearly caught him. Pass is played to Solly March. March can't find a blue and white shirt. He can now. Caicedo chased by Yates. Back to Duncan, on to Webster. Webster comes driving forward for Brighton. Uses Trossard over on the left-hand side. Trossard plays to McAllister. McAllister across the face of the box to March. Welbeck involved. Lamptey's cross deflected behind for a corner to Brighton.
Play your numbers back there for Nottingham Forest, defending with their lives.
Good defending from the away team. Brighton have hit the bar in this game. Dean Henderson's the goalkeeper that's made the saves. Robert Sanchez has had very little to do, but at the moment the two teams will be sharing a point unless someone can find a late winner. 90th minute, 0-0. Corner for Brighton. McAllister, low one, bounces, skips into the penalty area, ball's bobbling around. Forest managed to get it away. Awoniyi is caught by Lamptey. He flicked the ball past Lamptey, and Lamptey's momentum took him into Awoniyi. Lamptey gets booked, and Forest clear the danger.
Yeah, another quick break there from Nottingham Forest. A lot of players deep. Awoniyi just skipping that ball past Lamptey. Lamptey taking him out.
The old Leandro Trossard captaincy in fantasy football is not looking so clever now. At 0-0, Dunk heads it back to Robert Sanchez. Sanchez takes the ball on the bounce, and we'll wait and see how much added time we've got. Veltman with a long ball downfield. Solly March still moving at speed. McKenna barges into him shoulder to shoulder, and the assistant referee is right there, decides that's a fair challenge. Two players going shoulder to shoulder. 5 minutes of added time begins now, and it's still goalless.
I think McKenna's been outstanding tonight, covered when he's needed to, especially in them channels where Solly March has tried to get him behind, or Trossard on the other side. He's read the game very, very well, been strong in the tackle or in the defence, and played the ball simple when he's had it as well.
Goal kick for Dean Henderson in front of those Nottingham Forest fans behind him. Puts his right foot through it, clears it from left to right. Webster comes charging forward to win the header. Freuler plays it down the right. Now here's Biancone in loads of space again for Nottingham Forest. What can he do this time? Ball into the box. Oh, comes off Dunk. Dunk clears it into Awoniyi, and the ball bounces behind for a Brighton goal kick. That could have gone anywhere.
A good, quick, fast break on this right-hand side. Biancone there. It was Dunk that went to clear it, and it hits the Nottingham Forest player. Goes for a goal kick.
Yeah, Brighton have taken it. Veltman to McAllister. Nottingham Forest have got to stay switched on. Every point is precious. They'd have loved to win this evening, but a point here at Brighton will be no mean feat. Caicedo back to Dunk. Dunk to McAllister, able to turn inside the Nottingham Forest half in a central position. Plays it to Veltman. Veltman to Lamptey. Lamptey got Williams in front of him, not moving at pace there, Lamptey, so decides to play it back into the middle of the park. 3.5 minutes to go. Webster slides that down the channel for Undav, lays it back to Trossard, very nearly broke through the red wall there. Biancone is back to clear for Forest.
It's just not falling, has it, when they've got into that box? That final bit of luck has just not fallen into Brighton's footsteps.
Roberto De Zerbi desperately waving his arms, I think, to get, I don't know whether it's another player forward or just more men forward in total. What have we got left? We've got 3 minutes remaining of added time. Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0. Dunk, has he overhit that high lofted pass? I don't think even Lamptey's going to catch that. Runs away from him, and behind it goes for the goal kick.
He's very animated, isn't he? He's one of them head coaches or managers that uses every bit of his technical area, even comes outside, works up a good sweat.
Yeah. What do you think the Brighton fans are going to make of it then, Steve? I mean, it's very early, isn't it? 4 games in charge, but that'll be, if they don't get a goal tonight, that'll be 3 games without a goal, won't it?
Yeah, I remember, was it last season?
Interrupt Alistair there. If you want to continue listening to the closing stages of that Brighton against Nottingham Forest game, you can switch over right now to our sister station, BBC Radio 5 Live. We'll be over there shortly anyway, once that game does come to its conclusion. They're very much in the closing stages of stoppage time there anyway. But let's just start this second half here for our listeners on BBC Radio 5 Sports Extra. It is 1-0 to Wolves after a first half in which Crystal Palace promised much but couldn't actually deliver a goal, and then they were caught cold. A wonderful breakaway counter-attacking goal and scored by Adama Traore, a header from him, his first in the Premier League this season. No changes in personnel over the break. We're back underway. Wolves get us started wearing their silver grey shirts, playing from right to left as we look down. Crystal Palace wearing the blue and the red stripes. And the ball is cleared away by Nathan Collins up over the halfway line. Schlupp will, over his shoulder, hoof it back towards Wolves territory. And a bit of head tennis on the halfway line as Elise beats Ruben Neves, but ends up giving the ball straight to Hugo Bueno on the left-hand side. So interesting to see how this second half picks up. There's no doubt James Collins' Wolves were much more confident in the closing stages. They might have doubled their lead with that Neves free kick just before the break.
For sure, and certainly in the last 10 minutes they probably would have deserved it. It was a wonderful free kick from Neves. Would have seen them go in 2-0 up, but just looking at the stats here again at half time, we talked about the Palace v Leicester game. They had a lot of possession, they had shots on goal. It's similar again tonight, 56% of possession, 6 shots but only 1 on target. You feel like they're getting to the edge of the box and they just need a little bit more quality.
Wilfred Zaha to Michael Olise, left-footed cross is really good, back post Eze! There's the equaliser. 1-1 right at the start of the second half, and it's a beautifully crafted goal. Delicate, accurate cross to the far post, a perfectly timed arrival by Eberechi Eze, and he's still in work to do. It's an accurate header back across the goalkeeper, tucked into the back of the net. 1-1, Crystal Palace back on level terms.
I was just mentioning a little bit more quality, Connor. Elise's done really well. Then they might come out fast. They've literally just kicked off the second half, come out really fast. Elise on the right hand side, cut inside, left foot ball, lovely, delightful little ball to the back stick. And credit to Eze, it's a great header back across the goalkeeper into the far side.
So 1-1, worst possible start to the second half for Wolves, who would have enjoyed their 15 minutes in the changing room at half time. But that lead has been wiped out instantly, and Patrick Vieira's team are back on level terms. It is a goal in consecutive home games now for Eberechi Eze. It's a very important goal for Crystal Palace.
You got to say it's a lovely header as well, Connor. It's like it's similar to Traore's in the first half. It's quite easy to try and head it too hard, to try and put too much on it. He's just let it hit his head, guided it back across the goalkeeper, straight into the far stick. Good goal from Palace.
Thanks very much, Kelly. Yes, it is a rocking Selhurst Park because they were a bit down. They were a bit despondent over half-time, the Crystal Palace fans. They trailed to Adama Traore's header in the first half. Really a goal that came against the run of play. Palace, who had dominated much of the opening 45 minutes, but straight out of the blocks like a greyhound in trap 5, Crystal Palace have kicked off this second half and they've scored instantly, and a very well worked header for Eberechi Eze. Goals now in each of his last 2 home games, and this has really livened up the Selhurst Park crowd. James Collins, former Palace players, alongside me. Palace will be relieved, James, to be back on level terms.
They will, for sure. And like you said, they dominated a lot in the first half, but come out of the traps hot. And
here's Odsonne Edouard, tries to pull the trigger. Nelson Semedo makes the block. It fell for Elise. Angle was tight, couldn't get a clean shot. Brave goalkeeping from Jose Sa, who's dived down and he's hurt himself. He's got a kick in the hand, and the referee blows the whistle. The ball was out of play anyway. but it is fiery and it is feisty. It's been a very good game so far. Right from the kickoff tonight, you could sense that both teams were up for this. Always such a good atmosphere under the floodlights for the evening games at Selhurst Park, and this one a little bit later than usual. The 8:15 kickoff. We're just getting to see a replay there. Jose Sa bravely diving out, sliding in, and colliding with him was Joel Ward, who does catch with his boot the hand of the goalkeeper, but no further action taken.
Had to be careful there, Joel Ward. He got booked early on in the first half for a challenge, headed challenge that he got a yellow card on. He's dived in with his studs up on the goalkeeper. He could, looking back, he could be a bit fortunate there.
So it is Crystal Palace 1, Wolves 1. Palace have got Guaita in goal. Back four of Joel Ward, Joachim Anderson, Mark Gahey and Tyreek Mitchell. The midfield two, Cheick Doucouré and Jeffrey Schlupp. And then an attacking midfield of Michael Olise on the right, Wilfried Zaha on the left, Eberechi Eze in the middle, and then Edson Odward is the striker up front. The Wolves team in just a moment, but there's a goal in one of the 7:45 games in the Championship. Swansea against Reading, and Laura Kenyon.
Swansea 3, Reading 2, and what a goal it was. Jay Fulton with a stunning long-range effort, a rocket. What a breathless game. Swansea in front for the first time. Swansea 3, Reading 2.
There was a delay in that game earlier on. That's still why they're still playing in the 7:45 kickoff in the Championship. So here in the Premier League, after Brighton 0, Nottingham Forest 0 earlier on, 1-1 here between Crystal Palace and Wolves. Possession with Ruben Neves, who hit the post just before half-time, and he's tried to play a pass for the outside of the right boot. Look at the space that Adama Traore was in, but Neves wasn't able to find him. Olise picks up the loose ball for Crystal Palace. There's news coming away of a red card in one of the other games being played elsewhere tonight. It's in the Championship. It's at Carrow Road, Norwich against Luton. And let's go for an update there to Aaron Paul.
Yeah, Norwich 0, Luton 1. Things going from bad to worse for the home side. Kenny McLean sent off for an elbow on Tom Lockyer. The referee, no hesitation in his decision. Norwich have tried to push forward. Tamu Pukki has just planted a shot wide, but they're down to 10. Norwich 0, Luton 1.
Thanks very much, Aaron. Here at Selhurst Park, a good challenge by Cheick Doucouré, being impressed by him tonight, winning the ball against Mateus Nunes. And here come Palace with Eberechi Eze to the edge of the penalty area, played it right to the feet of Wilfried Zaha, who I think would have preferred it slightly in front of him. It clipped his heels and it went out for a goal kick to Wolves away to our right hand side. James Collins.
Yeah, it's absolutely bouncing here now, Connor. Palace really got the bit between their teeth, really pushing, pressing the ball well, pressing high up. Clearly Patrick Vieira's had a few words in the dressing room at half time. Like I say, long periods of the first half they did dominate the game, but Wolves went in and with a goal up, and Patrick Vieira's, like I said, clearly had words, maybe a few heated words, and they've come out really well and started the second half tremendously.
Yeah, the Wolves team, they've made 4 changes from the side that beat Nottingham Forest on Saturday at Molineux. Jose Sa, the goalkeeper. 3 of the back 4 have been changed. Nelson Semedo back in at right back has done well against Wilfried Zaha so far. Max Kilman reunited with Nathan Collins in the centre. Collins, who's back from suspension after that red card for the dangerous challenge on Jack Grealish last month. Hugo Bueno, who came on for his Premier League debut on Saturday, that win over Forest, he has made his first start in the Premier League, his full debut tonight, and it was his cross that set up the goal for Adama Traore. A brilliant moment for the 20-year-old in the first half here. Goals have been the problem for Wolves. They have scored tonight, but Palace have now got them back at 1-1. And here is Wilfried Zaha with the yellow boots, lays it off to Jeffrey Schlupp. Diego Costa, who scored here on each of his visits to the Chelsea shirt in the past, tried to put a bit of pressure on. That's a great ball though. Schlupp over to the far side to Tyreek Mitchell, who's up from left back. Eze rolls it into the penalty area. Back heel from Zaha, was intended to return it to Eze, but it's been cut out by Boubakary Traore, and Wolves then give it away on the edge of their own penalty area. Here's Cheick Doucouré over to the left hand side to Tyreek Mitchell. Good pressure. Here comes the cross into the middle. Bueno miscues his clearance, but he's half got it away anyway. Olise picks it up on the right hand side and right up against the corner flag, stretches, tries to deliver a cross, but he simply didn't have enough room, and it's a poor delivery, and it's straight to Ruben Neves. And Wolves should be able to get it away wearing their silver grey shirts and playing from right to left as we look down here at Selhurst Park. Neves gets it back from Hugo Bueno, gives it to Maximilian Kilman, and his clearance, left footed up over the halfway line, looking for Diego Costa, who is struggling to make the ball stick. Between Gehi and Anderson, they are coping well with Diego Costa in this game so far.
Yeah, they're doing really well. Palace have been putting pressure on, causing Kilman and Collins, the two Wolves centre-halves, to make big clearances up the pitch, and the Palace defenders are ready for it. You know, they really, one in front, one behind, the old school sort of saying, and winning the ball quite easily back off Diego Costa, which is keeping the pressure on to Wolves.
Here come Palace again down the right-hand side, having come from behind. And remember, the only games they've won in the Premier League this season, Palace, they initially went behind in them and they came back to win, and they're hoping that happens again here today. We mentioned in the first half when we were on BBC Radio 5 Sports Extra, the great atmosphere here at Sellers Park. It always sounds so good on the radio. Today, the 100th birthday of the BBC, and I do hope, a bit like when I was a kid myself, I do hope we've a few kids at home with the earplugs in, maybe under the duvet, maybe supposed to be doing their homework, maybe staying up a bit later than they should be, and listening into the radio. And there's so many ways you can follow football these days, and obviously the television coverage and online, but you can't beat live football on the radio. And particularly pertinent on this 100th birthday of the BBC as it breaks down on the edge of the penalty area, the attack for Palace. And Adama Traore tries to run clear, but he's caught by Cheikh Doucouré. That was really good from Doucouré, but then Eze's pass returns possession to Wolves once again. The transition of possession, James, in the second half especially, it's one side to the other. They're both going at it hammer and tongs.
They are, and I think Palace have had a slight tactical change. I think Wilf Zaha's playing more down the middle now, through the middle in that 10 position. He wasn't getting a lot of joy off Semedo down the left second half. He was getting the ball, but Semedo was doing really well against him. And Wilf Zaha's come through the middle now, trying to link the play and causing a lot of problems.
Tonight is the third time that Patrick Vieira has faced Wolves as a manager. He's won 2 out of 2 so far. As Podence breaks into the penalty area, shoots, and it's just, was it fingertipped? Yes, it was. Fingertipped over the top by Guaita. It's going to be a quarter to Wolves. That was a chance out of nothing. Podence almost mid-stride, snatching the shot from distance, and the goalkeeper reacting to push it over the crossbar and out for a quarter to Wolves. Still 1-1.
Yeah, this is a lively game now, Connor. They're both really pushing for the next goal. 1 minute we're at the Palace end and they're doing well through Zaha making chances, and then Wolves win the ball back, and a few passes, obviously with the pace of Adama Traore. A few passes, you get the ball to him, and the pace he gets at the other end, and it's another good chance for Wolves.
It's good conditions for football. It's not too cold, there's no breeze at all. Been a lovely day in this part of South London. Blue skies and sunshine, now dark skies, with a very enticing atmosphere inside Selhurst Park as little Podence prepares to take the corner, far side of the pitch from us, the right hand side as Wolves come forward. It's an outswinger and it's hooked away by Michael Olise, and that goes out for a throw in. And Wolves are preparing a change here, not just a change, a triple change. The caretaker coaches Steve Davis, James Collins, another James Collins, are getting ready to make a triple change. João Moutinho's going to come on, Guedes is going to come on, and so too young Hodge, Joseph Hodge, the Irish youngster who made his Premier League debut recently at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea. So this is a triple change early in the second half, and the goal scorer is one of those who'll be making way. Gonzalo Guedes is going to come on in place of Adama Traore. He did very well tonight to take his goal. That's been the piece that's been missing in his play, really. We all know he can start to move, but getting in on the end of one was so crucial this evening.
It was, like you say, he struggled a little bit, lack of chances, lack of goals this year, but he made up a lot of ground. Like I say, it was a quick break for the goal from Wolves to get at the other end, and he's got in the back stick. Credit to him, he's made up a lot of ground to get there and finished it really well.
Right, so Guedes has come on in place of Adama Traore. Joseph Hodge has come on for the record signing Mateus Nunes, who did pick up a knock to his neck earlier on in the game, and Boubacar Traore will be the other Wolves player who's going to come off to allow João Moutinho to come on. So while that all settles down, let's nip back to the Championship, back to Carrow Road and Aaron Paul.
Norwich 0, Luton Town 1. Scraps now for Norwich. They're fighting to grab something out of this game, but the more and more they go forward, the more open they become at the back for Luton to push on the counter. They've had plenty in and around the Luton Town box, but Ethan Horvath hasn't really been tested in the second half, and that may just be the problem here. We're entering into the closing stages. Connor, is Norwich 0, Luton 1.
Thanks very much, as here at Selhurst Park. Another attempted attack from Wolves breaks down on the edge of the penalty area. Let's go back to Swansea against Reading. Here's Laura Kenyon.
Well, it's still Swansea 3, Reading 2, but what a head-to-head. End-to-end stuff. Reading have brought on Andy Carroll in search of a late equaliser. 6 minutes of normal time left. It's Swansea 3, Reading 2.
Swansea moving up to 7th place as it stands. What about Blackburn tonight? They could be going to the top of the Championship at Ewood Park. Here's Charlie Slater.
And they look good value for it. Less than 15 remaining now. Still Blackburn 2, Sunderland 0. Ben Brereton Diaz, who's already scored one, is leading the one-man break. He's got a strike partner for company now, who he gives it to. He might be taking it to the corner. All Sunderland. Tony Mowbray's made a triple change, but Blackburn's standing very strong. 2-0 up.
Thanks very much, Charlie. It's a busy midweek of football this week. This is our second Premier League commentary of the evening. We've another 2 tomorrow, another 2 on Thursday. Well, in fact, you can listen to all of the games tomorrow on Premier League online in what is a very busy midweek in the top flight. Tonight, 0-0 between Brighton and Nottingham Forest earlier, and now 1-1 between Crystal Palace and Wolves, and we're approaching the hour mark here tonight. Wolves, who went in front, Palace, who got back on level terms. 2 headed goals tonight, and 2 very well taken goals too. Eze with it for Palace. Here is Edouard doing well just outside the D of the penalty area. The Palace attack, but then Schlupp gives it away. Groans on the Forest fans. Schlupp working really hard, wins it back off Podence once again, and the Palace fans loved that. Last touch goes off Hugo Bueno. Throw in to Crystal Palace just down below us, midway inside the Wolverhampton Wanderers half.
Yeah, Schlupp done really well to win the ball back. He wasn't happy with Edouard at the time. You know, the ball they've done well to win it back and played the ball into him, and he needs to make it stick. You know, with people like Wilf Zaha and Eze around him, Edouard really needs the ball to stick into his feet, and then they can play around the edge of the box.
Here is Zaha on the edge of the box, tries to step his way in, but Nelson Semedo's done well tonight against Wilfred Zaha, and he gets the better of him on that occasion once again. Hodge with a wayward pass gives possession away, and Olise sprints in and around the back of young Hugo Bueno on his first Premier League start. Good play from Olise, keeping it alive, back into a central location, and Sheikh Doucouré, who spots that Tyreek Mitchell is up from left back. Now they feed it to Zaha into the penalty area, across to Hudson Edouard, waited for it to come to him, then he's crowded out by opponents. Crystal Palace are going to hold on to the ball here, but they're forced back outside the penalty area, and it's back with Joachim Andersen, who immediately sends it out to the right hand side. First touch from Olise. Here's Joel Ward, he goes down, shoved on the back by Kilman, nothing doing with the referee. Wolves will clear it away towards Diego Costa, who can't control it to keep it in play, and he runs into an embrace of Patrick Vieira. He just ran into his chest, and Vieira, the opposition manager, gave him a hug. 1-1 here. James Collins.
That would be some battle between those two, I can assure you, Connor.
Well, I mean, what else are you going to do? Diego Costa runs at your face. You got a few options there. A hug is probably the most preferable of them.
I remember playing against him. The more you seem to rough him up, the more you seem to like it, Diego Costa. I'm not sure what he's like. He might have chilled a little bit in his older age now.
That's the voice of former Wales international James Collins watching this game with us here tonight on 5 Live and BBC Radio 5 Sports Extra. And free kick to Wolves, close to the halfway line. As Guedes, one of the second half substitutes, is slow to get back up to his feet, having received a knock there. Tomorrow we'll bring you a commentary of Liverpool against West Ham on 5 Live. We'll start at Manchester United against Spurs on Sports Extra. Another couple of games on Thursday. Fulham against Villa, and Leeds away at Leicester. 1-1 here. This is Mark Gehi at the back for Crystal Palace. It's been a much more even second half, you know, despite the fact that Wolves went in 1-0 in front at half-time. Crystal Palace dominated the possession, dominated the territory, had by far the better chances. That Doucouré walloped a shot off the post. But this second half, it's been very even.
As for sure, Connor, like you say, Palace came out hot out of the blocks. Real good start and a real quality goal to get them back into this game, but credit to Wolves, they've stuck in, and it's a real, you know, proper Premier League contest here now.
Well, Wolves at the weekend, when they got that win against Forest, they moved out of the relegation zone on Saturday. They started tonight a point clear of Southampton. Southampton in the relegation zone. They play at Bournemouth tomorrow, but if this was to stay like this, another point for Wolves tonight, they'd go ahead of Villa, they'd go ahead of Leeds for now, and they'd move up to 15th place in the table, which I think would be very pleasing for Steve Davis and James Collins, the two caretaker coaches who've taken over since Bruno Lage's departure. Here's Joel Ward, tries to cross to the right hand side, blocked by Hugo Bueno, and it's out for a corner to Crystal Palace, right hand side as they come forward, and there is no time to waste. Olise running across to play ball boy. Palace Palace want to get this into the mixer as soon as possible.
Yeah, they've had a lot of corners now this game. You feel like one of these chances, they're going to have to take. The quality's been there. It's just the attacking of the ball needs to be slightly better in the Palace box.
Olise stands, hands at his hips, hair dangling behind his ears as he plays in a low corner. Anderson arriving, nearly connected with it, and some brave defending by Diego Costa got it away for Wolves. Anderson are thundering into the penalty area, and he was about to pull the trigger when Costa was able to clear. Neves made a great run there, breaking away for the corner, but his teammates don't spot him and they don't play the pass, and it's more slow and considered through the middle, and that's a poor ball. That possession given away by Guedes. That's 2 mistakes for him now since coming on. João Moutinho will pick it up and sends it over to the right wing, controlled on the chest by Podence. Early delivery just in front of Diego Costa, who was arriving, and Anderson heads it out for a throw. Wolves remain on the attack down the right hand side. It's a good game this. Palace 1, Wolves 1.
It is a great game now, Connor. Both teams really pushing for that goal. It's getting a little bit sloppy, teams are winning the ball back and then a bit too much urgency to get the ball forward and giving the ball away, but again it's down the right hand side of Wolves. A good ball into the box, and Diego Costa's a little bit on his heels and hasn't quite got across the defender.
Diego Costa was waiting for that first goal for Wolves since returning to England. He had a big chance early in the game, Wolves' best chance of the first half, where he just hesitated a little bit. He turned one time, perhaps too many. He allowed the goalkeeper to come out. It was still a good save from Vicente Guaita to block a toe poke from close range by Diego Costa, but that could have set his night off had that gone in for the former Spain international. Here is Neves on the halfway line, turns and rolls it back to Kilman. So much more comfortable in possession now, Wolves, than they were in the first half, where they couldn't put 2 passes together. Here's Nelson Semedo, rolls it into João Moutinho. Is a good substitute to bring on in the second half. Fresh legs for a player who's been part of so many happy days for Wolves in the top flight in recent years. Here's Bueno, full of confidence, plays it one side of Ward, runs around the other, then he hesitated. I think for a moment he was weighing up, should he take on a shot from the tight angle, and that hesitation allowed Ward to recover, and Palace are relieved to clear the ball away. But it's good from Bueno.
He's done really well, Hugo Bueno, for such a young lad. Just looking down at him, I was just about to think he looks about 12, the lad, but he's certainly playing really well. He's done well and passed it, sort of almost gone to nutmeg. Joel Ward got into the box. Credit to Joel Ward, he's got back and got his toe on the ball.
He does. Hugo Bueno looks like he's got school in the morning. The youngster,
that's probably us just looking a little bit older now, Connor.
Well, it's making us sound very old, James. But we were all young once. He's got that youthful thing where he's trying desperately to grow some facial hair to try and make himself look a bit older. Is Hugo Bueno, who's had quite a week. He was given his Premier League debut on Saturday, the win over Nottingham Forest as a substitute, and tonight with Ait Nouri ill, Hugo Bueno has come in. And he has started and he has claimed a Premier League assist, and at the moment it's a goal that could help Wolves to a point away from home tonight in the Premier League. 1-1 it remains for now. This is 5 Live for the BBC. That's good from Nelson Semedo to win the ball in front of Wilfried Zaha. Podence with a clever back heel to receive possession. Now here's a ball crossed in. Ward jumps on the edge of the 6-yard box, manages to head it. Eze's going to try and clear it away, and he just about manages to do so as the ball is cleared. Nelson Semedo took a tumble in the penalty area. The travelling fans were roaring for a penalty, but I don't think that was ever on, and it's become so competitive now as Zaha shrugs off a few challenges. The Palace fans are loving that from Zaha, because he could have gone down, he could have won a free kick, but he fought and he kept his feet and he held on to possession for his team, and the Palace fans absolutely love that. And here is Olise on the near touchline to us, and he plays a crossfield ball back over to Wilfried Zaha again, controls it on his upper thigh. Instantly the ball drops to his feet, twinkle toes, a dazzling movement as he flicks it from one yellow boot to the other, and now Olise's in the penalty area, and Edouard, bicycle kick is off target. What a goal that would have been. Odsonne Edouard with a bicycle kick that sails wide of the post, and there's a standing ovation right around Selhurst Park. That was just beautiful football to watch for Crystal Palace.
Could have been one of the greatest Premier League goals of all time. Great play. You mentioned it in your commentary, Connor. Real fighting spirit from Wilfried Zaha in his own box, or in his own half. Winning the ball back, battling to get possession. got it out, then gets the ball back, and great play from Palace, and would have been finished by a tremendous overhead kick from Eduardo. Great play from Palace.
That was close to Wilfried Zaha at his best in the build-up there. We still have a quarter of this game to go. It's an 8:15 kickoff, but it's all over at Carrow Road. Aaron Paul.
Yeah, Norwich 0, Luton 1. A 7th goal of the season from Carlton Morris sees Luton grab all 3 points here in Norfolk. Morris was skillful as he was played in to plant past Angus Gunn. Kenny McLean was sent off to make things work for the home side, who lose 3 on the bounce. Discontent certainly continues to build here, with the boos very, very much audible long after the final whistle goes. Luton, they move 4th. Norwich 0, Luton 1.
Thanks very much, Aaron. 1-1 here. Crystal Palace had a very tough start. The fixtures to the season. They've played a lot of the big teams already. But here's Eze, edge of the area. Zaha's shot. Goalkeeper Sa got down to his left to make the save. Palace really going for it now. Having been 1-0 down, they are chasing a 2-1 lead.
Yeah, the volume's turned up, Connor. You know, Palace really on the front foot. You feel it's a matter of time now before there's a goal in this game. You know, Wolves are trying to get forward, trying to get the second goal, and it's just leaving huge spaces for Wilf Zaha, Eze to come into. And like I say, I feel like it's only a matter of time before there's a goal in this.
Here's Schlupp near the centre circle, giving it to Elise on the right-hand side. Guedes trying to get back and help out Hugo Bueno. Bueno's done well on this occasion, wins the ball back for Wolves, and here comes Ruben Neves with long strides now, bearing down on the Crystal Palace penalty area, slips it to Guedes. Back into Neves is not a good return pass, and Crystal Palace will regain the ball again. Check Doucouré, who I've been really impressed with tonight in that anchor role in the midfield, finds Eze, and Eze took off with the ambitious through ball that was threading through the eye of a needle there, and he couldn't quite get it into the path of Zaha. It ran through to Jose Sa. Here come Wolves again in their silver shirts, and Podence tries to place it in from the right hand side, can't beat the first defender. Tyreek Mitchell clears it away, comes off the back of Podence, ricochets for Schlupp though, and Palace hold on to possession. A little acceleration by Eze as he breaks up to the halfway line, and now he's rolled it in around the back of the defence. Nathan Collins been cut out. Here is Odsonne Edouard into the penalty area, rolls it back for Zaha. Wilfried Zaha puts the cherry on top of some sparkling Crystal Palace football over the last 5 or 10 minutes. They've been an absolute joy to watch. That goal was coming, and deservedly it falls for Wilfried Zaha. It's his 5th in the Premier League this season. The man who scored home and away against Wolves last year, didn't he take that so well? Crystal Palace 2, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1.
It was coming, Connor, and credit to Wilfried Zaha. It's nothing he doesn't deserve. He's been sensational this second half. I mentioned it earlier on, he's come through the middle. It's great play from Palace. You know, they were defending, they've won the ball back. Edouard's made a good run out wide, good ball given to him by Eze. Clever little ball inside of Wilf Zaha. You know, nice little touch. The defender could have won it. He took his time and placed it in the corner. Like I said, nothing Wilfried Zaha doesn't deserve. He's been sensational this second half.
Selhurst Park is bopping now. A little burst of the Dave Clark 5, and glad all over, and they are glad all over. They're on their feet, they're pounding their palms together in the beat to the music, and Wolves are in trouble now. Palace, whose wins this season, the top flight, have all come in games that they've been behind in. They've been behind tonight, but now they lead 2-1. It's all over. It's Swansea in the Championship. Swansea against Reading. Here's Laura Kenyon.
Swansea 3, Reading 2. Swansea come back from 2-0 down to claim all 3 points in a cracking head-to-head, edging them closer to the playoff places and leapfrog Reading in the process. The eventual winner, a beauty of a long-range strike from Jay Fulton. A sickener for Reading, though, who felt they could have had a penalty in the final minutes, but it's finished Swansea 3, Reading 2.
Thanks very much, Laura, here at Selhurst Park. It is 2-1 to Crystal Palace. Wolves, who moved out of the Premier League's relegation zone at the weekend with that win over Forest. They might be leaving here empty-handed tonight. There is still time, 18 minutes to go, plus the stoppages, but there has been a growing momentum, like a small little avalanche that has grown and grown on its way down the mountain, and it's absolutely brimming for Palace now. They're playing good football, the crowd are behind them, And after what's been a real testing start to the season, we mentioned the teams they've played against: Liverpool, Manchester City, Chelsea. There's been a lot of tough, difficult days, and they're hoping that some easier ones to come now. Between now and the break for the World Cup, all the teams Palace will play against are in the bottom half of the table, and they could be about to establish themselves back up in the top half themselves.
For sure, Connor. You know, you've got to say I've been hugely impressed with Palace tonight. Wolves have done okay. You know, they've defended reasonably well when they've had to. But you've got to say Palace have been lightning on the break. You know, they've let Wolves have the ball, and when they've won it back, the pace they go forward. And when you've got Wilfried Zaha in this mood, you know, at this ground, the way he plays, it's a joy to watch. It really is.
How can Wolves respond? Podence rolls the ball in front of Nelson Semedo, gets to within 5 yards of the byline, hangs in a decent cross. Guedes has peeled away, didn't fancy challenging for it in the air, and Joel Ward was able to clear. Hugo Bueno picks it up for Wolves again, the number 64, gives it to Guedes, left footed cross, has too much gas on it, flashes in front of the goalkeeper, squirts out the other side, and Nelson Semedo's able to pick it up. Better movement now from Wolves. Podence rolls it across the edge of the penalty area, and that man Jake Doucouré intercepts again and wallops it away down the field, and Crystal Palace clear their lines. Palace 2, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1. 5 live from the BBC. The Premier League tonight. This is the 8:15 kickoff, and the referee has spotted a tussle that is going on, and Diego Costa and Joachim Andersen, this was all off the ball, have got in a little wrestling match. Costa ended up lying on the ground. Well, the leopard doesn't change his spots. This is the sort of shenanigans that Diego Costa was involved in back when he used to wear a Chelsea shirt. We've just seen the replay. He's gone down very easy.
He's gone down very. I don't mind a bit of that though. I'd do exactly the same. You know, they're having a bit of a tussle. It's off the ball. Diego Costa's on the floor having a bit of a whinge as he normally does, but he's given as good as he's getting. You know, they're both at it, and you know he is very cross at the minute, Diego Costa.
He is trying to wind up the defenders, isn't he? And he's making his case to the referee.
I think that's the last that we'll see.
Yeah, well, the coaches, aware that this could end up going a bit sour, have made the decision to take off Diego Costa, so that little bit of hijinks ended up being his final act of the game. He had one attempt on target, and the more I think back at it, James Collins, he should have scored it, shouldn't he?
He should have. It was a huge chance. I did mention it in commentary. Joel Ward did really well to get back and block, but you know, a player of Diego Costa's ability, you know, you'd have expected him to finish it. And like say, if they scored that early in the game, you know, it might have been different. But other than that, he's been quiet, to be honest. You know, the two lads at the back for Palace have handled him really well.
Yeah, quarter of an hour to go in the game. Zaha's goal tonight to put Palace 2-1 up is his 7th goal. If you stretch back to last season, in Palace's last 10 home games, 7 goals in 10 games here. That is some going for Wilfried Zaha and Crystal Palace. Hwang Hee-chan, the Korean, is the player who's come on in place of Diego Costa, so fresh legs up front. But as we know, as we've been saying all season, goals is the problem for Wolverhampton Wanderers. They got their noses in front tonight. They haven't been able to hold on to that lead. Now they find themselves 2-1 down. And you know, there hasn't been much to convince to say that Wolves have got goals in the team now, but let's see what they can do. Gonzalo Guedes just outside the Crystal Palace penalty area, gives it to young Hugo Bueno, back into Neves again, back to the centre circle to Nathan Collins, who's back in the team tonight after suspension. Kilman to the feet of João Moutinho, and now to Hugo Bueno on the left, level with the edge of the area, has a chance to look up. He's crossed, took a deflection, it deflects it into the arms of the goalkeeper Guaita. Wolves are trying, but there's still no end product.
Yeah, it's just the lack of quality in the final third we spoke about. They're getting into good positions, like you say. There's no real desire to get into the box. You know, Breno's there with the ball at his left foot. You know, he showed the quality for the first goal of what he can get into the box, and just lack of numbers in the box on Palace. And you know, obviously they need to get back in this game, and they need to show a bit more desire to score that goal to get him into the game. Crystal
Palace could be moving back into the Premier League's top 10 tonight if they can hold on to this lead. We've had a really good goal from Zaha to put them 2-1 up. Could there be more goals in the game? Here is Guedes, edge of the penalty area, left-hand side for Wolves with the yellow boots. Gives it short to Ruben Neves, whose free kick was perfectly taken before half-time, but it came back off the post. Podence to the feet of Hodge, one of the 3 substitutes who came on for Wolves early in the second half. But Joseph Hodge here loses possession on the edge of the Palace penalty area, and it is Wilfried Zaha who clears it away all the way out for a throw into Wolves near the halfway line. Wolves who host Leicester on Sunday, and then it's Brentford away, followed by Brighton at home. Palace's game's coming up. They travel to Everton on Saturday, then it's Southampton at home, followed by West Ham away. Are Blackburn going back to the top of the Championship? Let's go to Ewood Park and Charlie Slater.
They certainly are. Blackburn 2, Sunderland 0, full time here. First time they've won back-to-back games since August. A magic top corner finish from Ben Brereton Diaz sparked the game into life after half an hour. Doubled their lead just after the restart through Scott Wharton. It meant a miserable return to Ewood Park for Sunderland boss Tony Mowbray. May only be October, may only be for a day, but Blackburn are top of the table. Blackburn 2, Sunderland 0.
Thanks very much, Charlie. 2-1 to Crystal Palace here at Selhurst Park. This 8:15 kick-off on 5 Live. And here is João Moutinho inside the centre circle. Can he drag his team back into this? Joseph Hodge back to João Moutinho again. First touch to the left wing to Guedes, who comes inside of Joel Ward, but he can't break into the penalty area. Jake Doucouré is there, wins it back for Crystal Palace. Bit of a swagger about Elise as he pirouettes and twirls over the ball. And then Edouard with a back heel and a flick from Zaha, and they're turning on the party pieces now, Crystal Palace. It breaks down as Edouard tries to return the 1-2 to Zaha once again. But there's a swagger about Palace, which maybe belies the fact there's only 1 goal between the teams. That's the sort of swagger when you're 4 goals up, James Collins.
Yeah, and again, a little bit more quality. They probably, Zaha's probably in again, you know. It's great play on the halfway line, and again, just a sloppy ball. And
here they come, Edouard up to Wilfried Zaha, keeps it moving out to Elise. Elise into the penalty area, tried a shot, but Kilman with the block, and it bounds off his shin pad, and the flag was raised anyway, and it's going to be a free kick to Wolves. And while we've got the break in play, Patrick Vieira is going to make a substitution. He's going to take off Michael Olise, and he's going to bring on Jordan Ayew, who started against Leicester the weekend, the player who scored against Wolves 4 seasons ago at Molineux. He also scored against Wolves back in his Swansea days in the past. Standing ovation for Olise, who has looked good in patches tonight, and applause too for the arrival of the Ghanaian Jordan Ayew.
Yeah, deserved applause for Elise as well. I think he's been brilliant tonight. Connor, he's been part of everything that's been good for Palace, like you say. It's so impressive to see, you know, when Palace are in this frame of mind, going forward, the pace they move the ball, you know, the interchangement of positions of the front 3 or 4, and he's been a part of it. Elise, I think he's been brilliant tonight, and fully deserves his rest.
It's going to be a double change for Vieira. He's swapping the striker to Odsonne Edouard, whose link-up play's been very good tonight, will depart. He scored in 2 of his last 3 games. No real clean attempted goal tonight. He'll be replaced for the final 10 minutes on Jean-Philippe Mateta. Mateta, who scored the opening goal against Wolves. The last time these sides met, that was at Molineux in March. Palace, who beat Wolves home and away last season. And as things stand, they are on their way to beating them again here tonight. Crystal Palace 2, Wolves 1. Adama Traore put Wolves in front in the first half. Eze equalised early in the second period. Zaha has made it 2-1. Joel Ward lunges in front of Podence, is now playing on the left wing. He needs the support of Anderson behind him. Nothing fancy from the Danish defender, just clears it into the stands, and that's a throw-in for Wolves down the left-hand side.
The old saying there, Connor, they can't score up there.
That is James Collins, who's a fully played up member of that particular union.
That was my favourite ball, I think, especially at 2-1 up.
Jose Sa at the back for Wolves. You mentioned earlier on in our commentary, and we were on Punch Sport Extra in the first half, you know, Jose Sa, only Edison, Manchester City's Edison, has kept more clean sheets in the Premier League this season than Jose Sa. It's been a tough start to the campaign for them, but he's done everything well. Cross on the right hand side here, comes flashing across the penalty area from Guedes, but just wouldn't sit up for Podence, who'd made a good run. Here's João Moutinho into the penalty area, tried a snatch shot on the edge of the 6-yard box, but I think the whistle had blown for a push anyway, and his shot was too high and into the crowd. And that is a goal kick, and maybe a free kick for Crystal Palace, just on the edge of their 6-yard box. 8 minutes to play in a vibrating Selhurst Park. They've enjoyed this tonight, as tends to happen when you come from behind to lead in a game. And it's happened on a few occasions now. Crystal Palace, there's been 4 games this season that they've taken the lead in first, and they didn't hold on to win any of those, but now they're on the verge of a third game, winning it coming from behind. Go figure. It must be perplexing for Patrick Vieira, but They've held their nerve at a time when the game could have slipped away from them, James. It could have been 2-0 at half time. Palace kept faith in the system, and it has come good for them as the game's gone on.
Yeah, for sure, Conor. Like I said, I'm sure Patrick Vieira had a few choice words at half time. Even though they had, like I said, the fair share of the possession and had shots on goal, they were just lacking that quality. And then to come out and score the equaliser straight away is just give this whole place a lift. And like I say, they've been far the better team in the second half.
Yeah, here comes Bueno. And that goal from Wilfried Zaha, by the way, is his 14th of the calendar year 2022. Just to put that in context, only Haaland, Kane, Son and Tony, they're the only other players who've scored more goals than that in this calendar year. That's how good Wilfried Zaha has been. Here's João Moutinho on the halfway line for Wolves, who are desperately chasing a way back into the game. Hwang does well to hold off a challenge from Doucouré. Doucouré's hobbling after that. Guedes rolls it in front of Nelson Semedo to the byline. Right foot across comes in. Comes off the leg of the goalkeeper, I think. It's still not fully cleared, but Guaita could jump and catch the ricochet as it rebounds down into his chest. Palace aren't there yet, and Gehi's just gone down, and I think in fact, it's Doucouré who picked up that knock earlier. He's gone down. This will slow things. Crystal Palace could probably do with a little breather here.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on, Conor. I was just going to say, Palace need to be careful here. Wolves are certainly not lying down. They certainly keep coming forwards, trying to create chances. I say, for as good as Palace have been, they need to be careful.
So just a little bit of a break in play here, chance to remind you of what's happened earlier on today. Brighton and Nottingham Forest was the earlier kick-off in the Premier League, and that one finished in a 0-0 draw. There's been a whole host of games this evening in the Championship. Preston won by a 1-0 away at Huddersfield. Norwich were beaten at home by Luton by a 1-0. Swansea came from behind to beat Reading by 3-2. Blackburn top of the pile, leading by 2-0. Winning by 2-0 at home to Sunderland tonight. Still playing at Stoke, who are a goal down deep in stoppage time. Rotherham, the visitors, they're 1-0 in front. And West Brom have been beaten at home tonight. West Brom 0, Bristol City 2. The visitors are preparing to make another substitution here.
It's a question of a handball here, Conor, from the cross, coming across.
The referee might have been hearing from the video assistant referee in his ear. At the moment, play's being held up because of Doucouré receiving treatment.
Certainly the Wolves players and the substitutes and the manager, you can see a questioning it down the bottom here. I'm not sure if...
I haven't seen an indication from the... look, VAR looks at everything, but no real indication that there's an ongoing review here. From what we can see, the only delay is because of the injury to the player. And this will all add to the stoppages to be added on. We've 5 minutes to go on the big stadium clock, but you'd imagine there'll be at least 5 to be added on to that as well. Steve Davis, the 57-year-old, the boyhood Wolves fan who's been in some respects living the dream in recent weeks, getting the chance to manage his club in the Premier League. Curry's back up his feet. Diego Costa was taken off quite some time ago. His presence in this game, he's right in the ear of the fourth official here. We saw those scenes with Jurgen Klopp on Sunday, and you got to be careful how you speak to the officials, and certainly Steve Davis is trying to go about his protest in a much more polite manner. The points have been made, but I don't think at any point the VAR was involved there in making that a serious deliberation of a review, and any appeals for handball in the penalty area have been shrugged away. Play is back underway. Crystal Palace 2, Wolves 1. Wolves can't catch a break at the moment. Hwang controls on the halfway line. João Moutinho goes down, caught by Ayew. Play on, says the referee, because Wolves have possession. João Moutinho gets back to his feet, but he's hobbling. Here is Podence, crossing position on the left-hand side, twisting, turning, trying to find a little bit of space. He's got Ward in front of him, rolls it back to Neves, sets himself up, brilliant shot, Neves, well saved, falls for Hodge. Hodge can't pull the trigger, and there's 2 defenders around him, and Palace are able to clear it away. What a shot from Neves there. Guaita reacted late, and that was a bit of a let-off for Crystal Palace.
Yeah, credit to Wolves, as I said, they really pushed in as well.
But now, as Wolves push forward, they leave gaps in the back, and Zaha careers through the centre, gives it to Ayew on the right hand side. Bueno's backpedaling, Ayew into the penalty area. Good stuff from the young Spaniard though, because he's managed to hold up Ayew, and he's waited for the support to come, and it's from Schlupp, and Palace will hold on, but the surprise element of that counter-attack has drifted away from them, and they're back inside the centre circle now with Gehi, who's been fouled by Guedes, and that's a free kick to Crystal Palace, bang on the halfway line. Palace 2, Wolves 1, 87 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, Wolves still knocking on the door, Conor. They're not lying down here and taking a 2-1 defeat. They're really pushing. the ball's come inside. I wasn't sure if they were going to have a shot or get a shot away, but they did, and then it's just bobbling around the box, and Palace have got numbers back and got the ball clear.
Crystal Palace beat Leeds 10 days ago. They drew at Leicester at the weekend. They haven't had consecutive league victories this season. Ayew's first touch there is very good as he tries to come inside of Hugo Bueno. The bright orange boots, the long sleeves and the gloves on Ayew tonight, even though it's not that cold, and Bueno didn't give up the battle, and in the end he won possession, but Wolves can't play it out. It's certainly not very far. However, the whistle is blown in their favour and they will get a free kick now. Not been taken from the right place. I don't think it makes a huge difference, but Palace fans up in arms about that. Here is Guedes on the far side. Since Diego Costa's got off, Wolves have struggled for presence in around the penalty area. Nelson Semedo's giving it away here. Eze battling hard for Crystal Palace, who could do with the insurance of a third goal and the buffer it would provide. Doucouré up to Eze. Good challenge by Nathan Collins to get it back for Wolves, and he storms up to the halfway line. Passes behind Podence out on the left wing. Podence recovers it. Now he sets off. Infield, right-footed ball across the face of goal, controlled by Hodge on the edge of the area. Guedes, chance to run it in. Collins, how did he not score? How did he not score? Would it have stood anyway? I think did the flag go
flag's up, but
how did he not score, James? It was right in front of it. Yes, it wouldn't have counted, but Collins, how did he not score?
He's a centre-half called Collins, that's why he didn't score.
That's the voice of James Collins watching us, game with us tonight on 5 Live. The ball in across from Guedes, who was offside as he received it. That's why the flag went up. But Collins on mark to the back post. I can't believe he didn't score.
He's probably so thankful that flag's gone up, because if that is not offside and he's missed that, it's got to be one of the misses of all time.
Deary me, he'll be buying the assistant referee a pint tonight, will Nathan Collins. We won't be remembering that as being too critical, but on another day, how costly a miss it might have been. Palace running down the clock now. We're going to make a late change. Eberiche Eze will go off. Jairo Riedewald, the Dutchman, who's been a peripheral figure over the last year or so for Palace, but he came on as a sub at Leicester on Saturday. That was his first appearance of the season. He's going to come on for the closing minutes here, so a more defensively minded player on for the more attack minded Eberiche Eze. Patrick Vieira, who's seen this sort of movie before and knows that it's not always a happy ending, just trying to assess the risk a little bit. There's long clearance towards Mateta, who beats Collins in the air. Zaha tries to control, but then it's cleared away. Up and away. 5 minutes being added on for stoppages here at the end of what's been an exhilarating Premier League game. But there's been no lull in this match tonight. Right from the get-go, you can't take your eyes off this. And Wolves have got a free kick here on the halfway line, and they're desperately searching an equaliser for a much-needed point.
Yeah, credit to both teams, Connor. You know, we talked about it and anticipated a good game always here at Palace under the lights, and I say both teams have really gone tooth and nail at it to get the 3 points.
They've just announced the 5 minutes to the crowd, and that's caused a little bit of a hum amongst the Palace fans who hoped it might be a little bit less than that. Guedes onto Hodge on the right hand side, diminutive player. Guedes has done really well here, and then João Moutinho's shot comes up and it hit the arm of a defender. The arms might well have been by the side. I'm sure the VAR will have a look at that, but play on for the moment. Here is Hugo Bueno on the left hand side for Wolves, comes in field of Ward. He's growing in stature in the game all the time. Bueno, chance of a shot, didn't fancy with his less favoured right boot, then he tried to drag it onto his left and he didn't have the room for that. Neves will battle on, but back helping out the defence was Mateta. Palace can't get it clear. Podence into the penalty area to Hwang. Wolves are having their best attacking phase of the game, but Crystal Palace defence hangs on and they put it out for a throw.
How good Palace have been second half, Connor. You know, they're really digging in, showing their resilience to defend, but credit to Wolves, they're really pushing in the last couple of minutes to try and get the equaliser.
Crystal Palace 2, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1. We've played 90 seconds of stoppage time. 5 Live and Sports Extra for the BBC. The fourth official comes across and just gently places his hand on the back of Patrick Vieira, just politely asking him to step back into his technical area. Vieira craning, trying to get a view down towards that corner to keep his eye on the action as João Moutinho plays an accurate ball in the midfield onto Ruben Neves, and then Guedes has to wriggle between two opponents and he's just about kept it alive. João Moutinho scoops one forward, bounces in the penalty area, defenders hesitated, Guaita didn't, goalkeeper comes out, lunges on the ball, and a sigh of relief from the Crystal Palace fans who were almost there for a win in the Premier League tonight.
Yeah, they are, and you've got to say he deserved, Connor, apart from this last 5 minutes where they've been you know, a little bit under pressure. They've dropped a bit deep and invited Wolves on to get the equaliser, but as I said, you know, if they do want to get the win, it'd be fully deserved from Palace. They just need to slow the game down a little bit now. It's all getting a bit frantic and they're giving the ball away, so someone needs to put their foot on it and really take the pace out of the game.
Wolves are trying hard. They're committing players forward. They want to be careful not to leave gaps at the back. Guedes to Neves. Wolves don't have much choice now, of course. They do or die. They might as well throw the kitchen sink at it here. Kilman comes out of defence in hot pursuit. Mateta, who catches Kilman late. Play on, says the referee. Ayew controls and spins away from Bueno. Rough challenge then comes in from Guedes. Referee thought that was too forceful. Sorry, from Wang that time. And that's a free kick to Crystal Palace, and you can bet your bottom dollar that they will take their time over this.
Take your time, and I would say it'd be going towards the corner flag, if I'm honest, Conor. I can see Patrick Vieira already telling the boys to, you know, kill the game. Bit of game management here now, and if they play these last couple of minutes right, it should be 3 points for Palace.
So many exciting moments tonight. Chick to Koure, shot from the edge of the area that walloped back off the post early on. Ruben Neves, who had a brilliant free kick, bent and swerved around the wall, dipped, however, similarly back off the post. Diego Costa, who should have scored with a toe poke from close range, but denied by Guaita. Brilliantly worked move for the opener from Wolves, the header from Adama Traore, set up by Hugo Bueno on his full debut. Exhilarating header too, after a slick build-up move by Eze to make it 1-1. And then the moment of the night, the Zaha goal that has put Palace 2-1 in front, and it ain't over yet. Here's Schlupp heading off towards the corner flag to shield the ball here, to try and run down the clock, and with the support of Ayew, they trap Wolves in that corner, but it does eventually go out for a throw-in to the visitors. Wolves needed back down the other end. We've played 4 minutes of the 5 that were due to be added on. The club without a permanent manager at the moment, finding life difficult, hoping that they'd turned a corner with that win of the weekend against Nottingham Forest, but on their way to returning to losing ways now as it stands here. Schlupp fouls Podence, free kick Wolves. A bit cheeky there from Schlupp as he rolls the ball away as Wolves tried to take the free kick quickly. All the tricks in the book are coming out now. João Moutinho on the halfway line, rolls it across to Nelson Semedo. They need to get it forward, but a high press from Zaha forces Wolves back. Zaha's clearance is rushed. Much haste, not enough speed from Wolves at the moment. 2-1 Crystal Palace. This could be about to become a big win for Patrick Vieira. It is. There's the full-time whistle. Back-to-back home wins for Palace, but another defeat for Wolves. The brief respite of their victory over Forest cancelled out now, and it's 4 defeats in their last 5 games now for a club without a manager who are under trouble. That was a great game, James Collins. Really enjoyed that, and Crystal Palace will feel that their quality shone through in the end to deserve the win.
Yeah, they did. As I said, like you said, Palace deserved winners of the game, but as you said, Conor, it was a great game to watch. You know, both teams really going at it to go for the win. Palace slightly more quality and have come away with the 3 points, but a thoroughly enjoyable game to watch.
Significant win for Palace. They move back up into the top 10 as the TJ puts on the Dave Clark 5 again. Happy times at Selhurst Park. The goals from Eze and from Zaha, both in the second half, have seen them beat Wolverhampton Wanderers by 2-1. Kelly.